Chapter 692. With Buddha Annihilation's death, the Buddhist kingdom collapsed. The Buddha completely shattered, turning into fragments that fell into the void. At the base of the Buddha, a stone door appeared. The exit is there. Let's go out. Lung Zongjing led Zhou Wen and Sheng towards the door. When they came out of the door, they realized that they were already outside the stone house. The stone house was shaking and collapsing. Before long, it collapsed with a boom, turning into a pile of ruins. Zhou Wen looked at the tiny pile of rubble and felt that the experience just now was like a dream. I've finally come out alive. Zhou Wen decided that he had to draw a few more substitute talismans after he returned. No matter how low the success rate was, he had to draw them. In the past, he had been gaming and rarely ventured into dimensional zones to take risks. Furthermore, he had enough mythical companion beasts. With a substitute talisman and the six-winged guardian dragon, he felt that it was enough to deal with all dangers. However, the battle in the Buddhist kingdom made Zhou Wen realize how terrifying the guardians were. An uncontracted Buddha annihilation was already so terrifying. If it encountered a contractor with an owner, it would probably be even more dangerous as long as it wasn't a rookie like John. After the stone house collapsed, the phenomenon in Dragon Gate Grotto vanished, and everything returned to normal. However, after this time, there seemed to be some problems with the seal on Dragon Gate Grotto. Often, some creatures would break out of the seal, and it was much more frequent than before. Thankfully, most of them were strong men or fairies. Furthermore, there weren't many of them, so the garrison troops could handle them. Tianzhua, your little Zhou is indeed very wrong. He's worth nurturing. You should spend more time on him, Lung Zongjing said to Tianzhua before he left. The corners of Tianzhua's eyes twitched, but he couldn't retort in front of his teacher. All he could do was lower his eyes and say yes. Zhou Wen, Feng Xiuyan, and Li Xian returned to the school's dormitory and received commendations. Feng Xiuyan and Li Xian were like desperate men who killed many dimensional creatures. Although they hadn't killed a mythical creature, they had still won outstanding battle merits. This time, the military awarded medals to students with meritorious deeds. However, Tianzhua didn't come. Qin Wufu personally awarded the medals. After Qin Wufu gave Zhou Wen the medal, he patted him on the shoulder and said, "Zhou Wen, if you want to join the army, remember to look for me. I'm free here. No one can control you." Qin Wufu's words seemed to be hinting at something, but Zhou Wen had no plans of joining the army at the moment, so he could only dodge the question. When he returned to his dorm, he realized that there were many messages on his phone. Some were from Wang Lu, some were from the Arch, and many were from Lucas. Wang Lu and Lucas had sent messages to ask about Zhou Wen's current situation after hearing about the anomaly in Dragon Gate Grotto. The Arch asked Zhou Wen if he was willing to accept her conditions. After replying to the messages one by one, the Arch didn't reply. Wang Lu and Lucas quickly replied. Zhou Wen then explained his situation. Only after he was free did Zhou Wen have the time to carefully observe Slaughterer's situation. After killing Buddha Annihilation, Slaughterer automatically evolved. However, Slaughterer had always been mysterious. The connection between Zhou Wen and Slaughterer was somewhat strange. He knew very little about him. He switched on his phone and switched to Slaughterer. He carefully studied Slaughterer's information. Slayer, evolved body. The information was simple and clear, but it was equivalent to not saying anything. He only knew that he had advanced to an evolved body, but even his name hadn't changed. This was the same as when Slaughterer was condensed. Other life souls could be summoned and used, but Slaughterer could only be used passively. It was completely different from other life souls. Zhou Wen later experimented with some of Slaughterer's abilities, such as infinite primordial energy recovery and the enhancement of his stats. Now that he had advanced to an evolved body, he still didn't have any information. Zhou Wen could only figure out himself. After entering the game dungeon and switching to Slaughterer, Zhou Wen attempted to use various skills to fight dimensional creatures. He wanted to see what new abilities the evolved body Slaughterer had. Soon, Zhou Wen realized that Slaughterer's strengthening effect on his stats had increased significantly. His primordial energy recovery was also faster. However, these were all abilities he already had in the past, so it wasn't surprising for them to be strengthened. Don't tell me there aren't any other abilities? Zhou attempted to communicate with Slaughterer, but just like before, Slaughterer still didn't respond. It was like a lifeless machine that attached itself to his body. It's impossible that there aren't any new abilities, right? Zhou felt that it definitely wasn't that simple. But after trying for a long time, he didn't discover any unique abilities. I'll slowly try in the future. Zhou thought for a moment and switched to the Hell King Life Soul. He planned on grinding it to a perfect body. He only needed to kill dimensional creatures to advance. The Hell King Life Soul was probably the easiest to advance. Just as Zhou was about to start a massacre in the game dungeon, he suddenly realized that the poison bat in front of him didn't have invisible flames. How can this be? Zhou frowned as he looked at the swarm of poison bats and realized that they didn't have invisible flames. Zhou exited the dungeon and logged into several other dungeons. The outcome was the same. None of the dimensional creatures in-game had invisible flames. Could it be that they don't have invisible flames because they're virtual creatures in the game? But that's not right. If the creatures in-game are different from the creatures in real life, why would companion beasts that drop, such as the golden battle god halberd, have invisible flames on them? What's the reason? Zhou couldn't figure it out and planned on heading to the dimensional zones in real life to take a look. Zhou planned on going to Tiger Cage Pass. Every time he entered a dimensional zone in real life, something would happen, so he specially chose to go to Tiger Cage Pass. The final boss of Tiger Cage Pass was the Elegant Emperor's puppet avatar. Zhou could now easily kill it. No matter what happened, it wouldn't be too out of line. I have to think of a way to get some companion beasts that increase my luck or luck to wash away the bad luck on me. Otherwise, I feel that something will go wrong with Bamboo Blade, Tiger Soul General, and Tai Sui, Zhou thought to himself. Since Tiger Cage Pass wasn't too dangerous, Zhou took the chick with him and let it go out for some fresh air. Recently, it had been eating and sleeping in his dorm. It looked much fatter, and Shun got someone to send food over every day, allowing the antelope and chick to eat until their mouths were covered in oil. The chubby chick stood on Zhou's shoulder with its round face. At a glance, it looked like an owl. Chapter 693. On the way to Tiger Cage Pass, he met quite a number of students. Unlike before, many students took the initiative to greet Zhou. In the past, due to Zhou's relationship with Wang Mingyuan and the problem with the Bureau, many students weren't willing to interact with Zhou, afraid that they would be implicated. However, things were different now. The anomaly at Dragon Gate Grotto made many students witness the terror of breakout creatures. At the same time, they deeply realized that in the future world, only the strong could survive and protect human cities. As for Zhou, who had shown brilliantly on the battlefield, many students had no choice but to reconsider the problem of interacting with him. However, when Zhou looked at them, the look in his eyes was somewhat strange. It wasn't because of their actions, but because he was looking at them with the eye of hell. When he saw the invisible flames on their bodies, it was as though he was looking at experienced babies. Thankfully, Zhou's mental state was relatively normal. If it were someone like Jack, he would have long reaped the experience. Zhou, what are you doing here? Zhou had just arrived at the entrance of Tiger Cage Pass when he saw Li Weiyang lining up with a group of girls outside Tiger Cage Pass. Senior Weiyang, I'm here to kill demonic generals, Zhou answered. Li Weiyang joked. Our college god Zhou, why aren't you killing mythical creatures? Instead, you came to Tiger Cage Pass to snatch the demonic soldiers and demonic generals from us. Is there any justice in this? Zhou didn't know what to say. Li Weiyang continued. We also want to enter Tiger Cage Pass to kill demonic soldiers and demonic generals. These juniors lack experience. Come with us. You can give us a demonstration. Zhou thought for a moment and realized that there wasn't any conflict with Li Weiyang's invitation. He nodded and said, actually, killing ordinary demonic generals isn't difficult. Li Xian and I previously made a strategy together. If we follow it, we only need 4 or 5 people at the mortal stage to kill demonic generals. Senior, why don't you teach us? A first-year girl said to Zhou. The girls immediately cheered, asking Zhou to teach them how to kill demonic generals. Of course, Zhou agreed readily. After all, his goal was to grind invisible flames. It wouldn't take up any time to teach them. The group of girls happily followed Zhou in a tiger cage pass. Some of the juniors even tugged at Zhou, asking him to guide them on how to kill the demonized soldiers. Li Weiyang didn't stop them. All she did was watch from the side with a smile. However, she thought to herself, do you little pixies really think this is a piece of Tripitaka's meat? If it really was Tripitaka's meat, I would have eaten it long ago. Would it be your turn? That's basically a bone made of titanium alloy. Don't even talk about eating it. Just gnawing on it would cause your teeth to break. Indeed, as Li Weiyang had expected, the juniors imagined that Zhou would teach them gently. Perhaps he would even teach them step by step. This way, they would have some intimate contact with this famous senior. It might even be the beginning of a romantic relationship. However, when Zhou really taught them, they realized how wrong they were. Zhou was simply using the standards of a soldier to hold them to. No, it should be said that he was holding them to inhuman standards. That's not right. Your feet are 3 centimeters away. Lower your head a little more. Your punches need to be powerful. Can you not draw too many circles with your sword? Be more clean and neat. Why are you twisting around? Stand up straight. Zhou lectured them like he was lecturing a rookie. Zhou didn't find anything wrong with it. On the battlefield, a tiny mistake could cost one their life. He had to be absolutely correct. Furthermore, to kill a legendary demonized general at the mortal stage, he had to be precise in everything. Otherwise, it would be easy for problems to arise. Zhou was following the standards he, Li Xian, and Feng Shuyan had used to practice. He had even lowered the standards to the lowest. Even so, they still failed to meet his requirements. It made Zhou frown. The girls realized that it was somewhat different from what they had imagined. They originally thought that it would be a beautiful exchange with their senior, but they ended up being lectured like livestock. Seeing many girls silently leave, Li Weiyang chuckled inwardly. These little girls have finally seen what a man made of titanium alloy is. After teaching for a while, Zhou saw that there were fewer and fewer girls listening to his guidance. Furthermore, they were doing a mess, unable to meet his requirements. However, there was a first-year junior that left Zhou somewhat surprised. She had meticulously completed the various techniques Zhou had taught her. Although there were still some mistakes, she was much better than the other girls. Furthermore, the junior was rather talented. She seemed to be able to detect her mistakes. The next time she practiced, she had already corrected many of her mistakes. The other girls had already distanced themselves from Zhou, but the girl took the initiative to ask him, "Senior, is it possible for me to kill a demonized general alone at the mortal stage?" "It's not impossible. Show me all the techniques you have learned." Zhou felt that the girl's talent wasn't bad. Furthermore, she was hardworking enough. He wasn't stingy with teaching her. The girl demonstrated everything she had learned in front of Zhou. Although Zhou saw that she hadn't learned any primordial energy skills, her basic techniques were very solid. It was obvious that she had worked hard and was rather well-rounded. Zhou couldn't help but recall the time when he was practicing ascetic meditation. Just like the girl, he cultivated silently and did his best to do what he could to the best of his abilities. With the techniques you have now, it will be somewhat difficult to kill a demonized general. However, I can slightly change your movement technique's positioning. That will allow you to kill a demonized general. However, before that, you still need to train your strength. Your present strength isn't enough. Furthermore, this will require a lot of practice and actual combat. It's not something that can be put to use in a short period of time, Zhou said. If it's not too troublesome, can you please teach me, senior? If it's too troublesome, forget it, the girl asked in embarrassment. It's not troublesome at all. Zhou explained how to change his movement technique. In fact, he just added some basic techniques of transcendent flying immortal. Zhou demonstrated it once and guided the girl a few times. Li Weiyang couldn't help but feel surprised when she saw the girl learning from Zhou. It was truly rare for a girl to not be scared away by Zhou. Zhou guided the girl a few times and when he saw that she didn't make any mistakes, he said to her, "The movements are all correct, but you need time to practice them. When you can use them freely in battle, raise your strength, and you'll be able to kill a demonized general alone." "Thank you, Senior. I know what to do." After thanking him, the girl went to the side to practice in silence. Seeing that no girl sought his advice, Zhou began his Hell King advancement plan. The demonized soldiers in real life were no different from the demonized soldiers in-game. However, these demonized soldiers had invisible flames. Chapter 694. When Zhou drew his saber to kill the demonized soldiers and demonized generals, the girl watched from the side as though she was observing and learning from Zhou's movement technique. Then, she compared it to her own movement technique and continued practicing. After Zhou killed the demonized soldiers, invisible flames were immediately sucked into the Hell King's eye. However, there was too little of it. It was much less than the invisible flames he had obtained from killing the monk-robed skeleton and the golden winged bird. It was like the difference between a drop of water and a pool of water. However, many grains of sand could form tower. Killing more demonized soldiers and demonized generals allowed him to obtain quite a bit of invisible flames. Perhaps it was because he had obtained a lot of invisible flames previously. Zhou felt his body begin to undergo a strange change after killing many demonized soldiers. Invisible flames flowed out of the Hell King's eye, enveloping his body in invisible flames. Under the baptism of the invisible flames, the Hell King life soul underwent a complete transformation. However, the invisible flames were invisible, so the students not far away couldn't tell the changes in Zhou's body. The Hell King life soul was Zhou's body. With the evolution of the Hell King life soul, Zhou's body also changed. His body became extremely sensitive. Zhou could clearly sense even a speck of dust landing on him. In the beginning, Zhou even felt a little unaccustomed to this microscopic level of spiritual perception and touch. This feeling wasn't too good because the air was filled with dust and bacteria. He couldn't sense them in the past, so it was fine if he couldn't see them. But now, he could only watch helplessly as the dust stained his face, eyes, and even his lips. There were also bacteria that resembled worms that entered Zhou's nose and mouth as he breathed. He felt terrible. The invisible flames couldn't injure any creature, nor could they prevent anything from approaching Zhou. It was as though the invisible flames didn't exist. However, it made Zhou's Hell King life soul stronger and stronger. Finally, even the Hell King's eye changed. In the past, the Hell King's eye was only a spatial rift with no pupil inside. However, as the Hell King life soul transformed, a pupil-like bead gradually condensed in the spatial rift-like Hell King's eye. The bead was condensed from invisible flames. It was formless and corporeal, looking extremely strange. It was like a transparent pupil that hung in the Hell King's eye. Finally, the Hell King life soul completed its evolution. The Hell King's eye also had a transparent pupil. The pupil burned with invisible flames, making it look strange and mysterious. The invisible flames on his body receded as some mysterious information surged into Zhou Wenhai's mind, allowing him to know some information regarding the evolution of the Hell King life soul. However, Zhou still switched on his phone and read the blood-colored avatar's information. Holy Hell King, evolved body king of hell that cleanses sins. Zhou roughly knew that the Hell King's eye had the effect of cleansing his sins, but he had to test it before he knew what kind of power it had. Zhou took the opportunity to test it out and see how powerful the upgraded Holy Hell King was. He used the Hell King's eye to look at a MO weapon. The pupil formed from the invisible karmic fire in his eyes immediately burned. The invisible karmic fire on the demon soldier's body was affected and started to burn. The invisible karmic fire on its body became even thicker. It looked very powerful. The invisible hellfire on the demon soldier's body grew thicker, but it didn't seem to have any effect on the demon soldier. The demon soldier looked normal. His waist did not hurt, his legs did not cramp, and he did not even blink. Holy sh*t. Why isn't it effective? Could it be that the demon soldier has already suffered a hidden injury and will die after 7 steps? Zhou stared at the demon soldier for a while to see if it would suddenly die. As Zhou watched, he counted the number of steps the demon soldier took. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. He watched helplessly as the demon soldier took 7 steps. Suddenly, the demon soldier's body paused. It can't be. I really guessed correctly. Is it really certain death in 7 steps? Zhou was pleasantly surprised. However, to his surprise, the demon soldier stopped there and farted before continuing to wander around. Zhou's face immediately darkened. Without any hesitation, he killed the demon soldier and devoured the invisible flames on its body. What crappy thing is this? After all this time, this holy Hell King's ability is useless, Zhou muttered gloomily. Although Zhou knew that the eye of the Holy Hell King was definitely useful, it didn't seem to be suitable for the masses. He didn't know what its exact effects were. Forget it. I'll continue absorbing the invisible flames. I'll advance the Hell King to a perfect body first. Zhou continued killing monsters to obtain the invisible flames. For the next few days, Zhou absorbed the invisible karmic flames in Tiger Cage Pass. Finally, he rushed into Tiger Cage Pass and killed the Tiger Cage demonized general and the elegant emperor's avatar. However, the invisible karmic flames that these demonized soldiers and demonized generals could provide were far inferior to the monk-robed skeleton and the golden-winged bird. Zhou absorbed so much invisible karmic flames, but the Holy Hell King didn't react at all. It had no intention of advancing again. Reality wasn't a game. After killing the demonized soldiers and demonized generals inside, he could only slowly wait for new demonized soldiers and demonized generals to come out of the dimensional rift. It was unknown how many days he would have to wait. Zhou naturally couldn't wait, so he planned on changing locations to continue grinding the invisible karmic flames. Just as he was about to leave, he saw a female student come deep into Tiger Cage Pass. She killed many demonized soldiers and finally encountered a demonized general. She was fighting it. Zhou originally didn't pay attention to her. I was about to leave when he realized that her movement technique looked somewhat familiar. He took a closer look. He immediately realized that the girl was someone he knew. She was the freshman who had come with Li Weiyang a few days ago. Zhou had even taught her some basic techniques of transcendent flying immortal. After not seeing her for a few days, the girl had already mastered the techniques. She fought the demonized general alone and used the techniques Zhou had taught her to constantly move around, preventing the demonized general from touching her. Instead, it was constantly injured by her. Unfortunately, she was only at the mortal stage. She didn't even have a companion beast, nor had she learned any primordial energy skills. Every strike on the demonized general dealt very limited damage. Zhou couldn't help but frown slightly. He had told the girl that she wasn't strong enough and needed to raise her strength before she could kill the demonized general. To his surprise, she had come alone. She also knew that her attacks were lacking, so she wasn't greedy. She wanted to inflict deep injuries by constantly accumulating damage. However, she had neglected the fact that her primordial energy and stamina were lacking. After a long battle, her speed and strength were decreasing. Finally, the girl's speed decreased greatly. She failed to dodge the demonized general's charge and was about to be hit. Chapter 695. With a flash of the saber beam, the demonized general was cleaved into two. The girl narrowly escaped death. When she saw Zhou beside the demonized general, she revealed a look of pleasant surprise. Didn't I tell you that your strength is insufficient and that you need to raise your strength before killing the demonized general? Zhou said with a frown. He was slightly angry and his tone wasn't pleasant. The reason why Zhou was angry wasn't because the girl hadn't listened to him, but because if anything happened to the girl, wouldn't teaching her movement techniques be equivalent to harming her? When the girl heard Zhou, she lowered her head and said uneasily, "Sorry, it's my fault. I shouldn't have disobeyed you. You aren't letting me down, but you're letting yourself down. You were lucky to bump into me this time. You won't be so lucky next time, Zhou said. Senior, don't worry. There won't be a next time, the girl said seriously. That's good. I'll take you back to prevent any more accidents, Zhou said as he walked out. The girl followed behind him. Your movement technique isn't bad. Here are some movement techniques. You could take a look. It should be of some help to you. Zhou thought for a moment before taking out a notebook and handing it to the girl. These were some notes that Zhou had taken when he first comprehended transcendent flying immortal. They were just some scattered thoughts and techniques that didn't form a system. Later, after Zhou truly gained an epiphany, he never used it again. This girl was rather talented in movement techniques, and her personality was somewhat similar to Zhou. Zhou casually gave her the notebook to take a look. Whether she could figure out something useful from the messy thoughts and techniques would depend on her own perceptivity. I don't have money. The girl waved her hands. It's worthless. I wrote it casually. Just take a look. Don't take it seriously. Zhou threw the notebook to the girl and walked away. After Zhou returned to his dorm, he began studying which dimensional zone to continue grinding the invisible sin flames. Although he already knew the method to advance slaughter a life soul, it was just too difficult to advance slaughter by killing a guardian. Zhou already knew of a few guardians, but he couldn't beat the one in Ant City. Even the 9 black dragons might not be able to defeat the one pulling the carriage in the underground sea. The other one was guarded by the chick's mother. Ignoring the fact that he couldn't beat it, even if he couldn't bring himself to kill the chick's mother. Of course, he might not even be a match for him. After some thought, there was only one guardian that was easiest to kill, Grim Demon, who was attached to the demonic sword. Every time Grim Demon saw Zhou, he felt that the way Zhou looked at him was like a hungry wolf looking at a lamb. It made his heart tremble. Although Zhou had the intention to kill Grim Demon and see if he could advance Slaughterer by another level, Zhou had no choice but to kill Grim Demon to see if he could advance Slaughterer by another level. However, killing Fiend was demonic neonate's rations. It wasn't convenient for Zhou to take action, so he could only give up. Furthermore, demonic neonate's successful sneak attack in the Battle of Buddha Annihilation was all thanks to Grim Demon that was attached to the demonic sword. Otherwise, an ordinary demonic sword wouldn't have been able to injure Buddha Annihilation, much less kill him. If he killed Grim Demon, demonic neonate's strength would be greatly reduced. It didn't seem worth it. After some consideration, Zhou finally chose a dimensional zone that few people went to. It was the underground pool city. In the past, Zhou had grinded dimensional creatures like the poisoned WYRM there. There were actually quite a number of dimensional creatures there, but because most of them were in the water and weren't easy to kill, very few people went there. Zhou went to Pool City and grinded for a few days, but he didn't make much progress. Typical dimensional creatures had very few invisible karmic sin flames on them. Furthermore, after advancing to Holy Hell King, the invisible karmic sin flames he needed to advance again seemed to increase. He didn't know how long it would take to advance a Holy Hell King by killing ordinary dimensional creatures. Where can I kill a few more dimensional creatures like the monk-robed skeleton and the golden winged bird? Zhou finally gave up on grinding ordinary dungeons to obtain the karmic sin flames. When Zhou returned to his dorm, he realized that Li Xian was sitting in the living room. Upon seeing Zhou return, Li Xian walked over with a smile and was about to put his arm around Zhou's shoulder. Swoosh! The sheathed bamboo blade in Zhou's hand pressed against Li Xian's neck as he asked coldly, "Who are you?" "Old Zhou, are you crazy? You don't even recognize me?" As Li Xian spoke, he was about to touch Zhou's forehead. The bamboo blade in Zhou's hand slashed at Li Xian's neck. Bam! Before the bamboo blade struck Li Xian's neck, white smoke emitted from Li Xian's body, causing Zhou's bamboo blade to miss. After the white smoke dissipated, a woman stood there. She looked at Zhou in surprise and said, "How did you discover that I'm not Li Xian? I believe that even Li Xian himself wouldn't be able to see through it. I'll give you one last chance. Who are you?" Zhou stared coldly at the woman as he gripped the scabbard tightly. He wouldn't use the sheathed saber for the next strike. Zhou indeed didn't see through any flaws. The woman's disguise as Li Xian was indeed enough to pass for the real one. Even if the real and fake Li Xian were placed together, Zhou wouldn't be able to tell which one was real and which one was fake. However, the woman shouldn't have come here. This was because when Zhou wasn't around, Li Xian didn't dare enter his dormitory casually, much less sit on the sofa. This was because Li Xian knew very well that it was the antelope's territory. He was most afraid of the antelope. Every time he came, he would only sit on the small sofa or stool beside him. Therefore, Zhou only needed a glance to know that Li Xian was fake. "My name is Butterfly. I'm second young Master Li Mabai's servant. Master got me to invite you," the woman said. "Is this how you invite me?" Zhou said with a cold expression. "Because Master said that I definitely can't fool you." I didn't believe him, so I made a bet with Master. Now that I've lost, if you aren't satisfied, you can kill me now. I have no complaints, Butterfly said with her eyes closed. Why is Li Mabai looking for me? Zhou didn't have a hobby of killing people. Furthermore, he actually knew about Butterfly. When Li Xian told him about Li Mabai and the evil King Gu, he had once told him about this woman. When Butterfly pretended to be Li Weiyang, even Li Xian couldn't tell her apart. He was nearly deceived by her. Master wants you to make a trip. He has something to discuss, Butterfly said. I'm not interested. You may leave, Zhou said, as Master expected. However, Master wants me to ask you if you're interested in a guardian. If you're interested, he's waiting for you at Elegant Leisure Restaurant, Butterfly said. Chapter 696. In Elegant Leisure Restaurant's private room. Please. Li Mabai carefully concocted a cup of tea before placing it in front of Zhou and making an inviting gesture. Zhou didn't take action as he looked at Li Mabai and said, If you have something to say, just say it. Li Mabai didn't mind. As he continued brewing tea, he said, Zhou, do you know what the most terrifying power in this world is? I don't know, Zhou answered. Li Mabai continued, The most terrifying power in this world is what you can see but can't obtain. For example, if an enemy who killed your father and stole your wife is right in front of you, you can see him every day. You can watch him laugh, watch him act arrogantly, and watch him enjoy all the riches and glory in the world, but you can't hurt a single strand of his hair. This is more unbearable than any physical pain. Second young master, I'm an ordinary student. I don't know such profound principles. If you want to talk about philosophy, I'm afraid you found the wrong person, Zhou said. Li Mabai brewed himself a cup of tea and took a sip, but he poured the rest of the tea away. Now, there are two things I can see but can't obtain. One of them is my enemy's life, and the other is a cocoon. Li Mabai put down his cup and continued. Ever since John challenged you with the six-winged seraphim, I've been trying my best to study what kind of power it is. In the end, I found the answer, the cocoon of a guardian. Zhou waited for Li Mabai to continue. Li Mabai definitely didn't invite him just to say this. Perhaps the heavens pity a half-crippled person like me and let me find a cocoon of a guardian. However, there's a terrifying mythical creature guarding it. I've tried my best and paid a huge price, but I can't even approach it. Li Mabai looked at Zhou and said, But you are different. You have the ability to help me approach it. Why should I help you? Zhou asked. Because you can bet a 1/3 chance, Li Mabai said with a smile. What do you mean? Zhou didn't understand what Li Mabai meant. As far as I know, guardians like the six-winged seraphim won't casually reach an agreement with humans. Instead, it depends on whether that person can obtain their approval. I know where the guardian cocoon is, and you have the ability to get us close to the guardian cocoon. We each have one chance. Let me try first. If I don't succeed, it'll be your chance. Of course, it's also possible that we won't be recognized, but at least you have a 1/3 chance, right? Li Mabai said. Zhou pondered without a word. He was naturally interested in the guardian cocoon. Not only was he interested, but he also wished he could immediately find it. However, he didn't want to obtain the guardian's recognition, but to kill the guardian. However, Zhou knew very well that every guardian had terrifying strength. They were top-notch existences in myths. He didn't know if his strength could kill a guardian. Li Mabai continued. The guardian cocoon I discovered is in the South District. It's where I obtained the essence energy art back then. According to my speculation, I can obtain the essence energy art there and condense the evil King Gu life soul. Perhaps it's very likely that it's compatible with the guardian cocoon, so my chances are very high. Unfortunately, my foundation has been destroyed. I've already cultivated another essence energy art. This is also where I'm relatively passive. In short, my chances are very high. It's not like you don't have a chance. The decision is up to you if you want to take a gamble. Aren't you afraid that I'll snatch your chance away? Zhou asked Li Mabai. Li Mabai laughed. Just as I said, I can't do anything while watching my enemy live a carefree life. Now, I'm living like an immortal. If it were you, would you be willing to take a gamble with such a hope? I need time to consider, Zhou said after some thought. It's fine. You can take your time to consider. I can wait. Li Mabai said to Butterfly, send Zhou back. There's no need. I can go back myself. Zhou got up and left Elegant Leisure Restaurant. On the way back, Zhou kept considering this problem. The guardian cocoon wasn't easy to find. If what Li Mabai said was true, it was worth taking a look. Li Mabai had a chance, but he might not succeed. However, Li Mabai was someone who could do anything for revenge. Zhou didn't dare trust him too much. When he returned to school, he found Ensheng waiting for him outside. Young Master 1, the matter of entering the maze to choose the treasure chest has been prepared. When do you plan on going? Ensheng directly explained his purpose. Now, Zhou also wanted to settle this matter as soon as possible. The world was changing faster and faster. Who knew if he would have a chance to go in the future? It was best to go early before the dimensional zone seal completely collapsed. That's what I thought too. Get in. Ensheng opened the door and let Zhou get in before getting into the driver's seat. Young Master 1, why is Li Mabai looking for you? Ensheng clearly knew that Li Mabai was looking for Zhou. Zhou didn't hide anything as he recounted the matter. Sheng, there's actually something I don't understand. Why did Chancellor Lung kill Buddha Annihilation and not choose to try contracting it? Zhou asked. I'm not too sure either. I'm afraid only Chancellor Lung can answer you. Ensheng shook his head. After a pause, Ensheng continued. What Li Mabai said might be true, but I'm afraid it's a little too late to go now. Why do you say that? Zhou asked in puzzlement. According to reliable information, Zhang Chunxiu, Xia Luchuan, and De Ge went to the South District together. Furthermore, their target is a guardian egg. The place they went is very close to the area Li Mabai mentioned, and Shang said. Li Mabai didn't say where the guardian egg is. How do you know where it is? Zhou asked. The Yin family has naturally been secretly paying attention to someone like Li Mabai. He used to stay in the South District for a period of time. We have also checked the areas he has been to and can determine a general area, and Sheng explained. I see. What a pity. Zhou was originally somewhat tempted, but after hearing Sheng's words, he probably didn't have much hope. The roads were getting harder and harder to walk on. The car stopped at a service station, and Sheng parked the car inside before the two of them continued forward on their companion beasts. Zhou rode the great Might Vajra bull and traversed the forest as though it was flat ground. His speed wasn't any slower than driving. Young Master 1, you have to memorize the map of the maze. Although I'll lead the way for you, you have to be able to come out yourself if you get lost inside. And Sheng exhorted Zhou again. Chapter 697. The maze's route map was very complicated. Even with Zhou's memory, it took him a long time to memorize the route map. Apart from a maze being too complicated, it was also because the maze was constantly changing. The complexity of the changes far exceeded the limits of ordinary humans' imagination. Memorizing these route maps not only required memorizing the route, but also required some formulas. When one really got lost, one wouldn't rely on their brains to memorize the route, but to use formulas and the route map to figure out a way out. Zhou spent quite a bit of time on this. To be safe, he had put in a lot of effort. 2 days later, Zhou and Sheng arrived at an inconspicuous field. It was originally a cornfield, but it was too remote. After the dimensional storms, it was affected by them, causing an anomaly. The corn here grew extremely tall. They were as tall as trees, and the corn on them was even bigger than a person's head. The corn kernels were all golden and translucent. Furthermore, ever since the dimensional storms, the corn here hadn't withered. It had been constantly growing. The entrance to the maze was in the cornfield. Back then, Tianzua and Sheng were being chased by a mythical breakout creature. In their panic, they fled into the cornfield and eventually fell into the maze. As a result, they escaped the calamity. It was there that Tianzua obtained his first mythical companion beast. And Sheng circled the cornfield for a while before finally finding a spot. He used a shovel to dig up the soil on the ground, revealing a metal plate. He lifted the metal plate and revealed an ancient well. And Sheng patted the soil on his hands and said, "Later, Overseer and I disguised this place to prevent others from entering by mistake. Firstly, it was to prevent the treasure chest from being opened by others. Secondly, we were afraid that humans would fall into it. It's impossible for them to exit such a complicated maze. When that happens, only death awaits them. Young Masterone, you have to follow me closely after we go down. Don't take the wrong path." And Sheng exhorted again before descending the well. Zhou followed and Sheng down the ancient well. There was still water at the bottom of the well. And Sheng dived down, and before long, there was a horizontal passageway. Soon, the two of them passed through the underwater passageway and appeared in a squarish stone room. And Sheng led Zhou through the stone rooms. Every stone room looked identical. There was almost no difference. Furthermore, every stone room had 6 exits. There were exits from the front, back, left, right, up, down, and so on. A normal person would not be able to go far in there before getting lost. Moreover, the stone houses here could move on their own. It would be harder than ascending to the heavens for an ordinary person to get out. Fortunately, there were no dimensional creatures in the maze. All they needed to do was identify the path and ensure that they didn't get lost. And Sheng walked and stopped, occasionally calculating something. After 3 to 4 hours, he finally found a treasure chest with Zhou. This stone house was a little special because it didn't have an exit. In the place where the exit should have been, there was a stone box. It was different from the treasure chest inlaid with gold and silver that Zhou had imagined. It was an ordinary stone chest that didn't look anything special. The treasure chests here are very special. A person can only open 3 treasure chests. If there are more than 3, it will be difficult to move it even if you use all your strength. According to our past experience, the treasure chests might be empty, or they might have companion eggs, dimensional crystals, and some strange items. They are all dimensional items, and Sheng said. Zhou walked forward and reached out to press the lid of the treasure chest before lifting it. There was no golden light or treasure aura. Inside the huge chest, there was only a palm-sized crystal hourglass. "What's this? What's its use?" Zhou took out the hourglass from the treasure chest and sized it up. He saw the sand in the hourglass slowly flowing from one end to the other. The sand was a kind of white sand, not the common yellow sand. It looked even more exquisite. It's possible that there's something strange in the treasure chest. It's hard to say if it's useful. Perhaps this hourglass will be of some use, and Sheng said. Zhou nodded and was about to put away the hourglass when he discovered something strange. As he wanted to put it in his backpack, Zhou turned the hourglass horizontally. Strangely, the sand didn't stop when the hourglass was turned horizontally. It continued falling to the other end. Strange. Zhou picked up the hourglass and sized it up again. He saw that the sand was flowing horizontally, completely violating the laws of physics. Zhou turned the hourglass upside down. The sand that should have flowed downwards flowed upstream, without any intention of falling. It looked extremely strange. This hourglass is really unusual. Zhou fiddled with the hourglass curiously. No matter how he placed it, the sand inside stubbornly flowed in the same direction. However, other than that, there was nothing particularly magical about it. Zhou injected his primordial energy into the hourglass, but it didn't affect it at all. It was as though it was a primordial energy insulator. Seeing that the hourglass didn't have any special use, Zhou placed it in his backpack and continued searching for the other treasure chests within Sheng. During the time they stayed here, the location of the stone house changed again, and Sheng kept making deductions, and after he was done, he continued walking with Zhou. After walking for about half an hour, Zhou suddenly heard a ding, as though an electric oven had been reset. Zhou and Sheng jumped in fright before realizing that the sound came from his backpack. Zhou opened his backpack with an odd expression. There are no mechanical items inside, nor were there any clocks or watches. Zhou suddenly realized that the sand in the hourglass had been emptied. All the sand had entered another hole. Could it be that the sound just now came from it? Zhou felt that there was no other possibility apart from that. He looked left and right, but apart from the hourglass flowing in the opposite direction, nothing happened. After putting the hourglass back into his backpack, the two of them continued walking. However, just as they stepped into the next stone house, they suddenly realized that there was a beam of light inside. All the stone houses that Zhou and company had passed were the same. There was no difference, and there were no carvings on the walls. However, there was a mural that resembled a phoenix on the stone house's wall. It was still emitting light, as though it was coming to life. Just as the phoenix mural lit up, the passageways in the stone house automatically closed. Chapter 698. The small fire phoenix flew down from the wall, bringing with it a terrifying flame, instantly turning the entire stone house into a sea of fire. Even though he was wearing armor, he still felt that the scarlet flames were unbearably hot. Zhou summoned Tyrant Behemoth and opened its mouth to swallow the flames and the fire phoenix. Although it was only a short instant, it left Sheng and Zhou breaking out into a cold sweat. White smoke was emitting from their armor. If it had been any longer, the armor would have been burned red and the flesh inside would have been cooked. Once the fire phoenix died, the 6 doors automatically opened and returned to their previous state. Zhou felt that something was amiss and asked Sheng, Sheng, have you encountered such a situation before? Never. Young Master One, do you think the fire phoenix from before has something to do with this hourglass? As Sheng spoke, he looked at his backpack that had been burned by the flames. The items in his backpack had already scattered. Many things had been burned, but the crystal hourglass remained intact. It lay horizontally on the ground, and the sand was still flowing. I also think there might be a connection. Nothing happened when you came, and nothing happened when we left. However, after the hourglass turned upside down, an accident happened. Apart from that, I really can't think of any other reason, Zhou said. Let's use our companion beast to scout the way and see if the other stone houses have the same problem. As Sheng spoke, he summoned a lion and let it enter the next room, and Sheng planned on entering. Just as the lion entered, the stone house suddenly closed. Soon, Sheng's expression changed. Zhou used Truth Listener's power to know what was happening next door, but he didn't hear anything. There seemed to be a force in the stone house's walls that blocked Truth Listener. Soon, the door opened, but the lion companion beast that had entered vanished. From the looks of it, it had been killed. These stone houses have indeed become a little strange. After my companion beast entered, it quickly severed its connection with me. I can't sense what happened inside, Sheng said with a heavy expression. Zhou looked in from the door, but he didn't discover any murals in the stone house. It was no different from an ordinary stone house. If the changes in the maze are related to this crystal hourglass, do you think the maze will return to normal when we wait for the sand in the crystal hourglass to reverse again? Zhou said as he looked at the hourglass in his hand. That's also very possible. Sheng stared at the sand in the hourglass and said, from the speed at which the sand is flowing, it should reverse once an hour. Let's wait here for an hour. All right. Zhou also felt that it was better to wait. God knew what other demonic things there were in the maze. Although he had mythical pets, his body was still at the epic stage. If any accidents happened in such a small stone house, he might not be able to dodge them. It was useless no matter how strong his companion beasts were. The two of them waited in the stone house. Time ticked by. When the sand in the hourglass had completely flowed out, they heard a ding sound. It was exactly the same sound as before. In the next second, the sand in the hourglass began to flow in reverse. "I'll give another try." And Shung summoned another companion beast and let it enter the room the lion had entered. Indeed, this time, the stone house's passageway didn't close. The companion beasts inside didn't have any intention of doing anything. It's indeed the case. And Shung carefully entered the room without any mishaps. Therefore, Zhou Wen and Shung used their companion beasts as pathfinders before continuing to advance to the next treasure chest in the maze. They passed by many stone houses without any problems. When the hourglass reversed, the two of them stopped and didn't continue forward. They waited in place for an hour, waiting for the hourglass to reverse again before continuing. It was unknown what kind of relationship the hourglass had with the maze. It could actually control the maze. When the sand flowed in reverse, the situation in the maze was completely different. When he was forced to rest, Zhou Wen studied the hourglass, hoping to see if he could control the flow of the sand in the hourglass. If he could control it, wouldn't he be able to control the maze? However, after studying it for a while, Zhou Wen failed to discover how to control the hourglass. The main reason was that he didn't dare act recklessly, afraid that he would damage the hourglass. It would be even more troublesome then. Let's think of a way to study it after we leave. Zhou Wen temporarily gave up on the idea of controlling it. "Young Master One, I seem to have discovered something," and Shung said. "What did you discover? Is it the secret of the maze?" Zhou Wen hurriedly asked. "No." And Shung shook his head and said, "After so many experiences with you, I realize that as long as you enter a dimensional zone, it's easy for something unexpected to happen. Coincidence. It must be a coincidence," Zhou Wen said firmly. Although he also felt that something would happen every time he entered a dimensional zone, he definitely wouldn't admit that he was a jinx. Even if there's a problem, it's definitely the Tiger Soul General, Bamboo Blade, and Tai Sui. "It's definitely not my problem," Zhou Wen thought. And Shung smiled and said, "Actually, this isn't bad. At least it won't be that boring. Every time I enter a dimensional zone with you, it's always so thrilling and exciting. It really has nothing to do with me," Zhou Wen said with a sullen expression. The two of them walked for more than 30 hours before finally arriving at the room with the second treasure chest. "Young Master One, open it and take a look," and Shung said with a heavy expression. "Do I really have to open it?" Zhou Wen said guiltily. In the first treasure chest, a monster like the crystal hourglass had appeared. Who knew what would appear in this treasure chest? It would be fine if a companion egg or dimensional crystal dropped, but if a bomb were to pop out and blast them to death, it would be terrible. Although it was only a metaphor, Zhou Wen didn't rule out the possibility of a bomb inside. "Open it. Even if there's a Buddha annihilation inside, we can just fight it again. There's nothing to be afraid of," and Shung said with a smile. Zhou Wen swallowed his saliva and reached out to lift the lid of the treasure chest. His heart was beating violently like a drum. And Shung and Zhou Wen looked into the treasure chest and were taken aback. There was another chest inside. It was made of the same material and style as the treasure chest, but it was a little smaller. Zhou Wen frowned slightly and opened the lid of the treasure chest inside. He saw an even smaller treasure chest inside. After opening 7 to 8 treasure chests, he saw even smaller treasure chests. Chapter 699. Are you kidding me? Don't tell me it's an empty chest in the end? Zhou Wen said gloomily, and Shung laughed. As expected of young Master Wen, Overseer and I have opened 6 treasure chests, but none of them are as interesting as this one. This really has nothing to do with me. You guys picked away all the good treasure chests. The remaining treasure chests are all so strange, Zhou Wen said gloomily. Quick, open it and take a look. I'm really looking forward to knowing what's inside, and Shung urged. Zhou Wen had no choice but to continue opening the treasure chests inside. The treasure chests came one after another, and Zhou Wen had opened at least 20 layers. The treasure chest also changed from a huge chest to a palm-sized chest. Zhou Wen gave it a try, hoping to take out the treasure chest. Although the treasure chest was very small, it didn't budge no matter how hard Zhou Wen tried. Zhou had no choice but to continue opening the chests. One layer after another, the treasure chest had already become the size of a finger. There was even a treasure chest inside. I'm very certain now that the owner of the maze is definitely playing with us. There's definitely nothing in the final treasure chest. Zhou felt that he had definitely been fooled. At this stage, even if it's empty, we have to open the last chest, and Sheng encouraged. Zhou continued opening the treasure chest without a word. The treasure chest went from the size of a finger to the size of a fingernail after opening layer by layer. F***, why is there more? I don't believe it. Zhou continued opening a few more layers. The size of the treasure chest was already the size of a ring's surface. Just as Zhou was about to open it again, he realized that the squarish stone treasure chest that resembled a ring's surface was locked. Although the keyhole was very small, he could tell that it was a lock. Isn't this a scam? I've already opened it up to this point, but it's telling me that I need a key. Zhou wished he could smash the treasure chest. However, he didn't know if these treasure chests were protected by nomological powers. Even mythical powers would find it difficult to damage them. Could this treasure chest itself be the prize in this treasure chest? And Sheng said as he looked at the treasure chest. It can't be. Zhou was slightly taken aback as he reached out to grab the tiny treasure chest and lift it up. After opening so many treasure chests, they remained motionless. This time, he had picked out the tiny treasure chest. He can actually take it out. Zhou immediately realized that the fellow who placed the treasure chest must have done it on purpose. Zhou took a careful look and didn't find a way to open the treasure chest. He handed it to Sheng, who returned it to Zhou. The structure of this keyhole is somewhat different from our human locks. It might require a special key to open it. Young Master One, put away first. Think of a way to open it after we leave. Zhou had no choice but to put away the tiny treasure chest. With such a tiny treasure chest, it was very likely that there was nothing inside. Even if there was something, what could such a tiny treasure chest contain? After opening 2 treasure chests in a row, Zhou began to miss Wang Lu. If he could get her to help him open the treasure chests, he definitely wouldn't be so unlucky to get such a strange item. The two of them set off again, due to the precedent, and Sheng was afraid that this tiny treasure chest would trigger an anomaly in the maze. So he walked even more carefully. In the end, nothing unexpected happened. Just like before, as long as they waited for the hourglass's safe period, they could successfully pass through the stone house. Finally, Zhou and Sheng arrived at the location of the 3rd treasure chest. Zhou stood in front of the treasure chest, pressed his palms together, and bowed in all directions. Gods, please bless me. I don't seek to get rich overnight. I just want to open something normal. Any mythical companion beast will do. I'm really not picky. As he prayed, Zhou even summoned the baby tiger, hoping to increase his luck. And Sheng held back his laughter when he heard Zhou mumble. He said in all seriousness, Young Master, riches and honor are destined by the heavens. Quickly open it. Zhou gritted his teeth and opened the lid. It's indeed normal. And Sheng looked into the chest and immediately laughed. This was because the chest was empty. There was nothing inside. That's it. Zhou was somewhat depressed. Why don't I take you to find another chest? What if you are born extraordinary and can open the 4th chest? And Sheng said, Don't trouble yourself. Let's go back, Zhou said with a shake of his head. He decided that he would never open any darn chests or anything else that relied on luck in the future unless he could come with Wang Lu. And Sheng led Zhou out. It was impossible to return the way they came because the stone house's location was constantly changing. Therefore, they could only deduce a new path back. Thankfully, nothing happened on the way back. The two of them successfully exited the maze, and Sheng used a metal plate to seal the well and covered it with soil to disguise it. If it wasn't a coincidence, it would be difficult to discover the entrance to the maze. However, Zhou realized that the crystal hourglass in his hand seemed to freeze. The sand inside was still flowing when it froze. It looked like time had stopped moving. It was extremely magical. Young Master One, it's not like you didn't gain anything at all. Even if the small treasure chest is empty, this crystal hourglass is rather magical. Perhaps it's really a treasure, and Shung consoled. Zhou wasn't in the mood to say anything. He put away the crystal hourglass and the mini treasure chest and planned on thinking of a way to open the treasure chest. The two of them returned to Luoyang and realized that there were very few people on the streets. Soon, they realized that most people were watching the live stream. Someone actually challenged Primordial Sword Immortal again. It's no wonder so many people are watching the live stream. Zhou used Truth Listener to search and discover the problem. That's not surprising. There aren't many days left in the 3-month deadline. There must be someone who can't hold it in. Let's see who's challenging Primordial Sword Immortal. And Shung took out his phone and switched on the live stream, only to be slightly surprised. In the arena, Primordial Sword Immortal had already revealed his Sword Immortal body. The Sword Immortal stood in the arena with a stone sword in hand, but he didn't see the challenger. Suddenly, the Sword Immortal's head seemed to suffer a heavy blow as his body flew out. What was that? Zhou and Shung didn't see what had happened. Chapter 700. After Primordial Sword Immortal was sent flying, he immediately flew into the air and brandished his sword, slashing out rows of sword beams in all directions. However, apart from Primordial Sword Immortal and his sword beams, Zhou and Shung didn't see anything. An invisible companion beast. Zhou and Shung saw the surprise in each other's eyes. There were very few invisible companion beasts to begin with. Zhou had an invisibility cloak companion egg, but it was a problematic companion egg. He had yet to hatch it. Apart from that, he had also heard of some companion beasts that could become invisible. However, those companion beasts that could become invisible weren't completely invisible. For example, a companion beast, named the color-changing beast, could fuse with the environment through changing its color to achieve the goal of invisibility. However, such invisibility was basically useless against top experts. Ignoring mythical creatures, even epic experts like Zhou's Hell King Life Soul could sense minute changes in the airflow. It was just that it couldn't be seen by others. Actually, it wasn't that useful against top-notch experts. It was only when dealing with a special skill like Candlelight Vision World that pure invisibility was of some use. What was truly terrifying wasn't invisibility, but invisibility. Even its body could be hidden. It wouldn't cause any airflow, emit heat, or have any vital aura. It was as though it had vanished into thin air. Only by doing so could an existence like Primordial Sword Immortal fail to discover its location. In the current situation in the arena, Primordial Sword Immortal clearly couldn't discover the enemy's location. All it could do was continuously slash out a large area of sword beams, hoping to use the dense sword beams to force the enemy out. This was clearly useless. Soon, Primordial Sword Immortal suffered another baffling strike and was sent flying again. The battle scene in the arena was very strange. Primordial Sword Immortal seemed to be fighting the air, but he was constantly being attacked. The Sword Immortal spirit body was also flickering from the attacks. It looked like the situation wasn't good. The live stream is still limited. Let's go to the cube to take a look, and Shung said as he drove the car in the direction of the cube. There were almost no people on the other streets, but the streets that could see the cube screen were filled with people. Even humans couldn't squeeze through, much less cars. Even the buildings on both sides of the street were filled with people. Zhou and Shung had no choice but to find a place to park the car and find a relatively close spot to watch the battle. The cube's large screen could perfectly display the real battle. It was the same as a real scene. This was something that even high-speed cameras couldn't do. No matter how powerful the camera was, it still had its limitations. For example, no matter how high the resolution was, it was impossible to reach the standards of the real world. Just like the scene on the phone, Primordial Sword Immortal was still being beaten one-sidedly. His opponent seemed to be deliberately humiliating Primordial Sword Immortal. Every attack was like an invisible fist striking Primordial Sword Immortal's face, sending him flying. Again and again, of Primordial Sword of Sword. It was Primordial Sword Immortal. It seemed to be the spirit. Ever since Primordial Sword Immortal appeared out of nowhere and suppressed the rankings for a few months, it had accepted the challenges of many powerful companion beasts. It had always appeared invincible, almost synonymous with invincibility. When had it ever been in such a sorry state? Ever since Primordial Sword Immortal appeared, it had suppressed the rankings for a few months. It had accepted the challenges of many powerful companion beasts and had always appeared invincible. It was almost synonymous with invincibility. When had it ever been in such a sorry state? Zhou looked at the name on the ranking. The companion beast that challenged Primordial Sword Immortal was named Origin Realm King, but he didn't see the image of Origin Realm King. Could it be that Origin Realm King is invisible to begin with? Zhou thought to himself. The battle continued in an overwhelming manner. The invincible Primordial Sword Immortal was somewhat helpless in front of an invisible opponent. All it could do was passively take a beating. From the looks of it, the first place on the rankings is finally going to change. Why haven't I heard of Origin Realm King before? Indeed, an invisible opponent is the most terrifying. This Origin Realm King is just too powerful. To be able to beat Primordial Sword Immortal to such a state, it's practically invincible. I wonder whose companion beast Origin Realm King is. That's really hard to guess. I've only heard of the Divine Realm, Immortal Realm, Demon Realm, Spirit Realm, Ghost Realm, and Demon Realm of myths. I've never heard of Origin Realm. Don't tell me it's overseas. I don't think so. If Origin Realm King is overseas, I'd rather support Primordial Sword Immortal for first place. The entire Federation was in a flurry of discussion. Primordial Sword Immortal's disadvantage was obvious. Although it hadn't used the Wheel of Destiny and still had the ability to put up a final fight, the chances of victory were already much smaller. This was because most people determined that Primordial Sword Immortal's Wheel of Destiny was an offensive skill. Without even knowing where the opponent was, an offensive Wheel of Destiny was too useless. Unless Primordial Sword Immortal's Wheel of Destiny had a large area of effect, it was very difficult to turn defeat into victory. Zhou had been watching the battle the entire time. He had even used the Holy Hell King's Eye, but he still couldn't see where Origin Realm King was. What powerful invisibility! It can even hide the sin flames on its body. Zhou was somewhat surprised. From the looks of it, I should be able to see the power of Primordial Sword Immortal's Wheel of Destiny this time. And Sheng also believed that Primordial Sword Immortal had been forced into a corner. It wasn't just in Sheng. The 6 families and many experts thought the same. At this stage, it was impossible for Primordial Sword Immortal to sit still and wait for death. Just as everyone was hoping that Primordial Sword Immortal would release the Wheel of Destiny, something unexpected happened. Primordial Sword Immortal actually chose to forfeit and admit defeat. He gave up the throne of first place without using the power of the Wheel of Destiny. The entire Federation was in an uproar. The invincible Primordial Sword Immortal, who had dominated the rankings for a few months, had actually been defeated just like that. The throne of first place had been handed over, and Origin Realm King had become the strongest companion beast in the world. The fact that Primordial Sword Immortal didn't use the Wheel of Destiny meant that he knew that he couldn't win even if he used it. There were less than 4 days left before the 3-month deadline that Wang Mingyuan had mentioned. All the major media outlets in the Federation were reporting the matter of Origin Realm King occupying first place. They were also guessing who the owner of Origin Realm King was. Just like Primordial Sword Immortal, the owner of Origin Realm King had never appeared. All the guesses were just guesses. However, according to the 6 families' deductions, the possibility of Origin Realm King being an overseas companion beast was very high. This was because in the myths and legends of the Federation's District 4, there didn't seem to be a place called Origin Realm. When people were guessing the origins and true identity of Origin Realm King, the cubes all over the world underwent a strange change. Every cube displayed a 72-hour countdown. As long as one wasn't stupid, they could roughly guess what this meant. There were less than 72 hours left before the 3-month deadline. Chapter 701. All the major factions that wanted to vie for first place mobilized. They studied what kind of companion beast Origin Realm King was, as well as its various abilities. Without a doubt, Origin Realm King's most terrifying ability was invisibility. Even Primordial Sword Immortal couldn't find its true body. This was a very terrifying ability. In addition, its speed was likely very fast. Otherwise, even if it was invisible, it would be difficult to dodge Primordial Sword Immortal's high-speed sword beam. With these 2 points as a foundation, the professionals began to study and analyze various possibilities. Everyone was constantly paying attention to the rankings because there were less than 72 hours left. Someone could challenge Origin Realm King at any moment. In fact, apart from the first place, there were already quite a few lower-ranked participants challenging the higher-ranked participants, hoping to obtain a better position before the end of the ranking battle. In the last 72 hours, all challengers only had 1 hour to accept the challenge. If they didn't accept the challenge after 1 hour, they would be automatically judged to have lost. Zhou was also studying Origin Realm King. After seeing the battle between Origin Realm King and Primordial Sword Immortal, Zhou felt that something was amiss. He found the video and didn't find anything wrong with it. Origin Realm King's invisibility could be said to be perfect. No flaws could be found. No matter how strong Primordial Sword Immortal was, no matter how strong he was, it was useless against an enemy that could appear anywhere around him at any moment. Every companion beast has its weakness. Is Origin Realm King's invisibility really that perfect? Zhou didn't believe that there was an absolutely perfect ability. Just like Torch Dragon's bright Torch Vision World, such a powerful skill only needed a mirror to destroy it. Origin Realm King's invisibility was indeed very powerful, but Zhou felt that there must be a weakness. It was just that he hadn't discovered it yet. Just as the various factions were nervously studying it, a companion beast named Light Beast suddenly challenged the number 1 Origin Realm King. Light Beast? Isn't that a companion beast of the family clan of gods? It was said that it possessed the power of light, but its combat ability was not strong. At most, it was similar to the Fire Dragon. It's much weaker than Primordial Sword Immortal. How can it challenge Primitive King? Could it be that the family of gods has found the Primitive King's weakness? Can Light Beast restrain Origin Realm King? Everyone was puzzled as they waited for the battle to begin. They wanted to know if the family clan of gods had really found Origin Realm King's weakness in this challenge, or if they had other motives. Li Xian organized the members of the Xianwen Club to watch the battle in front of the cube. Zhou followed them to the cube. He had a nagging feeling that Origin Realm King's invisibility ability might not be that perfect. Holy sh*t. Don't tell me everyone in Luoyang is here. Li Xian said gloomily as he looked at the crowded crowd. They were still a few streets away from the cube, but they could no longer move forward. They could only see heads swaying, and they couldn't see the cube at all. It's no wonder. Although the various companion beasts that appeared previously, including Primordial Sword Immortal, are very powerful, they can still be seen clearly. However, Origin Realm King was completely different. He couldn't even see it. The unknown is fatally tempting to human curiosity. Everyone wants to know what kind of companion beast Origin Realm King is, Li Weiyang said. We can't see anything from so far away. We might as well stay at home and look at our phones. It was rare for Huang Ji to come out. He was actually very interested in the abilities of various companion beasts, so he had participated in the Xianwen Club's operation. Of course, he mainly wanted to reproduce the data and abilities of these companion beasts in-game. After the ranking battle began, Huang Ji had been analyzing the abilities of the companion beasts. He planned on using them as prototypes to create some game bosses. If it really doesn't work, let's find a quiet restaurant and watch the live stream, Gully suggested. He felt that watching the live stream was no different from watching the cube screen. Zhou also felt that it was too far. Even Truth Listener would find it difficult to reach such a distance, but they couldn't possibly charge through the crowd in front of them. Li Xian's heart suddenly stirred as he said to Gu Dian, who had been silent behind everyone, "Old Gu, walk ahead." The eyes of Zhou Wan and company immediately lit up as they knew what Li Xian was thinking. They hurriedly made way and let Gu Jian walk ahead. "Why are you squeezing? Yuhi?" "Ah." A fierce-looking man felt that someone was trying to squeeze past him. He opened his mouth and wanted to curse fiercely, but as he cursed, his eyes also turned over. When he saw who it was, he was so scared that his legs trembled and he almost fell to the ground. "Ah." He hurriedly shut his mouth and retreated to the side in fear. He had a ferocious look on his face, but when he saw the person squeezing past him, he was so frightened that his heart thumped wildly as cold sweat broke out on his back. He had never seen such a ferocious person in his life. He was now very worried that the other party would directly kill him with a knife. Therefore, he kept retreating and squeezed out some space to make way for the person. Gu Jian didn't pay any attention to him as he continued walking forward. Zhou Wan and company lined up and followed closely behind Gu Jian. For some reason, they felt the thrill of cutting a queue that spanned several streets. The crowd on the street was extremely crowded. Everyone wanted to squeeze in, and no one was willing to give way. There were even quite a number of people who argued because of this. However, Gu Jian successfully passed through the crowd. It didn't look like it was difficult. Before long, Zhou Wan and company arrived at a relatively suitable distance. It was equivalent to a golden spot in the 6th or 7th row of a theater. They waited for Origin Realm King to accept the challenge. As they only had an hour to accept the challenge, Zhou Wan and company had spent a lot of time rushing over. Now, there were less than 10 minutes left, but Origin Realm King still hadn't accepted the challenge. No way. Origin Realm King hasn't accepted the challenge? Could it be that Light Beast is really its nemesis? It's really possible. Under the light, darkness has nowhere to hide. Perhaps it's really the nemesis of invisibility? No matter how it's countered, Origin Realm King is an existence that can fight Primordial Sword Immortal. It would be a wonder if Light Beast can defeat it. As people were arguing, they saw the name in the arena flash. Origin Realm King had accepted the challenge, but they didn't see its figure in the arena. Everyone knew that Origin Realm King had already appeared in the arena, but they couldn't see it. Light Beast clearly knew this as well, so it didn't hesitate to attack. Its body emitted light like a sun, illuminating the entire arena. This was the power of Light Beast's Wheel of Destiny, Light Beam. Chapter 702. I see. This Light Beast wants to use indiscriminate attacks to force Origin Realm King out. No matter how invisible Origin Realm King is, it's impossible for it to really disappear. With such an attack, it's very likely that we can find its traces, Gully said. Sadie nodded and said, Light Beast is a mythical companion beast of the family clan of gods. Its Wheel of Destiny is called Light Beam. Although its offensive strength isn't strong, it covers a large area. Furthermore, it can last for a long time. It's suitable for restraining invisibility. From the looks of it, the family clan of gods hasn't found a way to restrain Origin Realm King. They just want to use this method to figure out what kind of companion beast Origin Realm King is. Zhou Wan and company stared at the cube's big screen. The arena was illuminated by the light, illuminating the entire arena. If there was something in the arena, even if it couldn't be seen, it would be injured by the light beam. Even if it couldn't be injured, there would be some reaction. However, strangely, there was nothing in the entire arena. The light beam didn't encounter any obstacles. There was no collision of forces, and the light didn't refract. Strange. Could it be that Origin Realm King is really an invisible and intangible spirit body? Impossible. If it's really an invisible and intangible spirit body, how could Origin Realm King directly attack Primordial Sword Immortal during the battle? It must have a physical body. As you can see, Light Beam has already enveloped the entire arena. If it really has a physical body, it's impossible for Light Beam to not react at all. Perhaps it's some kind of skill that can temporarily turn incorporeal. It shouldn't be able to last long. The various family clans were discussing how Origin Realm King had dodged Light Beam, but they didn't have an accurate deduction. Light Beast continued to emit Light Beam. Its light beam could last for several hours, so there was no need to worry about being ambushed by Origin Realm King. Just as everyone was discussing the matter, they suddenly saw the light beast's face as if it had been smashed by an invisible fist. Its nose and facial bones caved in. Then, they saw a light beast fly out with blood flowing from its 7 orifices. It died immediately without even having the chance to admit defeat. Instantly, everyone broke out into a cold sweat. Many people had thought of the possibility that Light Beast was no match for Origin Realm King. However, no one expected Light Beast to be defeated so miserably. Not only did it fail to force Origin Realm King out, but it was also killed in one strike. Clearly, it was because the difference between the two was too great. Light Beast couldn't even withstand a single strike. The family clan of Gods' plan failed, and they even lost Light Beast. It has invincible stealth and invincible strength. It's invincible strength. If Origin Realm King wants to assassinate someone, I'm afraid no one in this world can escape its assassination, right? Just a thought. What primordial sword immortal? What death of the underworld? They are nothing compared to Origin Realm King. Realm King, realm is King. Realm is realm to God. The ordinary citizens of the Federation were discussing the topic of Origin Realm King. If people still had doubts about Origin Realm King's strength in the battle against Primordial Sword Immortal, then killing Light Beast with one strike made Origin Realm King truly step onto the altar. It left a deep mark in the history of human companion beasts. All the great clans began their intense research and analysis work. They used all kinds of high-end equipment to record the videos and repeatedly studied and analyzed them frame by frame. However, no matter how he analyzed it, Origin Realm King's invisibility ability was perfect. The Light Beast's light ray, which attacked indiscriminately, was unable to touch its body at all. Instead, it was killed in a direct hit. This kind of ability was so horrifying that it made it hard for people to eat and sleep. Just as the average person said, having the Origin Realm King was equivalent to having the most terrifying assassin in the world. Even the members of the 6 families were worried about being assassinated by the Origin Realm King. If Origin Realm King was overseas, the Federation would be in even more danger. Even if it was the Federation's own companion beast, it was equally intolerable. It was like a sharp blade hanging over his neck. He didn't know when it would fall, but the person holding the blade wasn't him. Everyone in the world wanted to find Origin Realm King's weakness after studying and analyzing it again. I wonder if Origin Realm King's abilities can be used on Master, said Feng Chuyan after some thought. I don't think so. It's already so invincible now. If it could be used on Master, wouldn't that be too much of a bug? Li Xian curled his lips. It's not impossible. Just like the invisibility cloak that once caused a stir, it can make people completely invisible. No investigative means can see its existence, said Huang Ji. Sadie seemed to know something about the invisibility cloak, so she said, although the invisibility cloak can completely turn invisible and can't be detected, there's a time limit. It can only maintain an invisible and intangible state for a certain period of time. Usually, it's just invisibility. It can still be detected by some special means. For example, Light Beast's light ray can expose the invisibility cloak in its normal state. If not for that, the Zhang family wouldn't have been able to successfully return the invisibility cloak to its companion egg form back then. The few of them discussed as they walked. Zhou didn't say a word. He had a nagging feeling that something was amiss, but he couldn't tell what it was. After this battle, no companion beast challenged Origin Realm King again, because no one wanted to take the risk of their companion beast being killed to challenge Origin Realm King. It wasn't easy to obtain any mythical companion beast. Knowing that they were sending themselves to their deaths, no one was willing to do it. The various factions could only constantly study and analyze, hoping to find Origin Realm King's weakness. However, in the blink of an eye, there were only 48 hours left. No one could analyze Origin Realm King's weakness. They had watched the video until it was rotten, but they couldn't even tell where Origin Realm King was, much less figure out what it looked like or its weaknesses. Now, Many people believed that Origin Realm King would probably take first place in this ranking battle. Up to now, no companion beast had been discovered that could restrain it, but there wasn't much time left. Zhou had also been studying the video and watching it many times, but he failed to find Origin Realm King's true body. Could it be that Origin Realm King's invisibility ability is really that perfect? How many modes of invisibility are there? A spirit body is one. Origin Realm King is most likely a spirit body. However, from its attack mode, it seems to have a corporeal body. There was also the possibility of invisibility, which was not very possible. If it was just invisibility, it would definitely be detected by light ray. There was also the invisibility cloak that could temporarily turn into nothingness. From the looks of it, this possibility was the highest. Also, it was too small like primordial spore, so it couldn't be seen. However, no matter how small it was, it should have some reaction in the omnipresent light. Wait, that's not right. Zhou seemed to think of something. Chapter 703. Zhou carefully recalled the two battles of Origin Realm King, and specially watched a few important parts of the video. The parts that he originally felt amiss gradually became clear. If I treat Origin Realm King as a companion beast similar to Primordial Spore, or even smaller than Primordial Spore, so small that even the eye of the Holy Hell King can't see the sin flames on its body, then does that explain why Primordial Sword Immortal's sword beam can't hit it? It's not because its speed is so fast that Primordial Sword Immortal can't hit it, but because it's too small. If that's the case, its strength definitely isn't too strong. Therefore, although it looks like it's slapping Primordial Sword Immortal, it's actually because it doesn't have enough strength to kill Primordial Sword Immortal. Zhou continued deducing. The battle with Light Beast proves this point. Light rays are everywhere. If Origin Realm King is really in the arena, it should trigger a reaction from light rays. Even if it can turn incorporeal, the moment it attacks Light Beast, it should collide with light rays. However, I've repeatedly watched the video, and nothing of this has happened. From beginning to end, the light rays didn't collide at all. Then, there's only one explanation. From the moment it entered the arena, Origin Realm King had already burrowed into Light Beast's body. Therefore, no matter how the light rays shone, they couldn't hit it. It wasn't in the arena at all. Furthermore, the Primitive King used this ability to destroy the Light Beast's body or brain first. Then, with an ingenious opportunity, it came out of its nostrils and attacked the Light Beast. It looks like its strike is extremely powerful and instantly killed Light Beast, but in fact, it has long wreaked havoc in Light Beast's body. Light Beast is almost dead. Not only did it kill Light Beast, but it also made everyone think that Origin Realm King's destructive power was extremely powerful. It concealed its greatest weakness and made people not dare to challenge it easily. What good plan. The more Zhou thought about it, the more he felt that he was right. Although he had guessed many possibilities of Origin Realm King, defeating it was still not an easy task. Even Truth Listener's ability and the Eye of the Holy Hell King couldn't discover its existence. Its body was definitely much smaller than Primordial Spore. It had probably reached the level of an atom. Primordial Spore can parasitize large creatures, but it's not very effective against smaller creatures. Torch Dragon's Bright Torch Vision World should be able to kill it, but if it burrows into Torch Dragon's body before Torch Dragon activates Bright Torch Vision World, Bright Torch Vision World will be useless. After some thought, Zhou realized that Origin Realm King wasn't easy to deal with. It was very easy to fight Origin Realm King to a draw. With the strength it displayed in its battle with Primordial Sword Immortal, Zhou only needed to use Tyrant Behemoth to challenge it. No matter how it drilled, it wouldn't be able to injure Tyrant Behemoth. However, it wasn't easy for Tyrant Behemoth to find and kill it. I wonder what kind of companion beast Origin Realm King is. If it's a fungus or germ, perhaps I can send Tai Sui to deal with it. Zhou thought to himself, but he didn't immediately attempt it. After all, everything was just Zhou's guess. Tai Sui was only at the epic stage. If his guess was wrong, or if Origin Realm King was only small in size and not a fungus companion beast, Wouldn't Tai Sui die a tragic death if it couldn't restrain it? There were still more than 2 days left. There would definitely be companion beasts challenging Origin Realm King. So Zhou planned on taking a look before deciding if he should send Tai Sui. Even if he sent Tai Sui, he would have to wait until it was almost time. Otherwise, with how weak Tai Sui was, even if it defeated Origin Realm King, it would be easily defeated by other mythical companion beasts. While waiting for Origin Realm King to be challenged, Zhou didn't idle. He continued grinding in-game. Ever since he knew that killing Guardians could advance Slaughterer, Zhou had been eyeing Guardians. Unfortunately, the person in Ant City was just too powerful. After some thought, Zhou turned his attention to the 9 black dragons in the underground sea. I have quite a number of mythical companion beasts now. I have Behemoth and Truth Listener on the outside, and Torch Dragon's bright Torch Vision world is invincible. Together with the great Might Vajra Bull, the Golden Overlord Sword, and Demonic Neonate, who specializes in sneak attacks, I can try and see if I can deal with the 9 black dragons, Zhou thought to himself. After arriving at the underground sea, Zhou first summoned his mythical companion beasts. Together with Demonic Neonate, the lineup was rather powerful. The 6-winged guardian dragon still followed the same rules. It appeared behind the blood-colored avatar in its 6-winged form to prevent it from being instantly killed. I have to find time to draw more substitute talismans in the future, Zhou thought. With Zhou order, Truth Listener and Behemoth rushed into the underground sea. The great Might Vajra Bull was actually afraid of water. It could only provide support on land and didn't enter the sea. However, this wasn't a big deal. As long as he lured the 9 black dragons to a spot near the sea, it would be fine if the great Might Vajra Bull's soul suppression bell worked. Before long, the 9 black dragons appeared pulling the war chariot. When they saw Behemoth and Truth Listener, the chains on their bodies immediately unraveled. The 9 black dragons immediately perked up as they turned into ferocious dragons that roared as they charged at Behemoth and Truth Listener. Zhou made the 2 of them retreat and return to the shore. The 2 behemoths stood in the shallow water, and the seawater only reached their calves. When the 9 black dragons rushed over, Zhou immediately realized that something was amiss. The strength and speed of these black dragons were even more ferocious than Truth Listener, who had shattered an earring. Zhou originally imagined that Truth Listener and Behemoth could fight 3 or 4 black dragons alone, but now he realized that it was difficult to fight 2 alone without using absolute strength or shattering the other earrings. Roar! The Behemoth roared out and used absolute power, wanting to suppress the 9 black dragons. The 9 black dragons began to be affected by the attraction produced by absolute strength, but soon they forcefully escaped the restraints of absolute strength. Boom! Behemoth, who had used absolute strength, threw a punch and collided with a black dragon's horn. To Zhou's surprise, Behemoth, who had absolute strength, was forced back a few steps by the black dragon. It fell into the seawater, causing huge waves to surge. Truth Listener was in a worse state. It clashed with a black dragon's claws and was sent flying into the sea. Something's wrong. How can those 9 black dragons be so powerful? Zhou was alarmed as he carefully looked at the 9 black dragons, but he didn't see anything. Zhou's heart stirred as he switched to the Holy Hell King Life Soul and used the Eye of the Holy Hell to take a look. He was immediately alarmed. There were chains that couldn't be seen with the naked eye on the 9 black dragons. They were still connected to the war chariot. Chapter 704. The chains weren't corporeal, but they were like soul chains. The 9 black dragons were connected by the chains, and at the same time, their powers were connected as one. The power unleashed by a black dragon was equivalent to the power of 9 black dragons unleashing at the same time. It's no wonder even Tyrant Behemoth can't suppress the black dragon after using absolute strength. This is fighting 9 alone. Zhou thought. Tyrant Behemoth had already stood up again and roared as it charged at the 9 black dragons. Its strength was unparalleled, but it was still somewhat difficult to deal with them when fighting 9 alone. The black dragon was a powerful mythical creature to begin with. Coupled with the 9 as one, the strength they unleashed suppressed Tyrant Behemoth. Every clash of strength caused Tyrant Behemoth to retreat repeatedly. Thankfully, Tyrant Behemoth was indeed unparalleled when it used absolute strength. It wasn't heavily injured under the combined attacks of the 9 black dragons. Truth Listener rushed out and attacked the black dragons from another direction. Although the 9 black dragons were connected by invisible chains, it didn't affect their movements at all. Furthermore, the conversion of strength between them was extremely fast. Just as Tyrant Behemoth was sent retreating, it gathered its strength to fight Truth Listener. The terrifying dragon claw broke through the limits of its speed and sent Truth Listener flying again. Zhou had already controlled the blood-colored avatar to slash at the black dragon. The Great Might Vajrabull also released the Soul Suppression Bell at the same time. The bell rang, but the invisible chain trembled. The Soul Suppression Bell didn't work, nor did it stun the black dragons. Truth Listener looked like it was about to go berserk and shatter the earring. Zhou hurriedly summoned it and Behemoth back before turning to flee into the Bat Cave. Demonic Neonate didn't attack the entire time. From the looks of it, she hadn't found an opportunity. The 9 black dragons didn't dare go ashore. They roared in the water, stirring up huge waves that were extremely terrifying. The 9 black dragons are already so terrifying. I wonder how powerful the Guardian in the war wagon is. I'm afraid it's another Buddha annihilation. Zhou looked at the 9 ferocious black dragons and secretly calculated his chances of killing the Guardian in the war wagon. I finally understand why the Lost Immortal Sutra can mimic so many primordial energy arts and easily obtain so many benefits. Even with such a sick ability, killing a Guardian to advance is as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Zhou had already realized that the Lost Immortal Sutra was indeed an unparalleled primordial energy art. Ignoring the fact that the Lost Immortal Sutra could advance to the mythical stage, just killing a Guardian to advance to the Life Soul was probably unprecedented. Unless I think of a way to sever the connection between the 9 black dragons and prevent them from condensing the power of 9 dragons for a combined attack, killing them is simply a pipe dream. Zhou began to miss the 6-winged seraphim. Among the Guardians Zhou had seen, he was the easiest to kill. Since he couldn't kill the 9 black dragons, Zhou had no choice but to vent his frustration on other dimensional creatures. He killed all the rare dimensional creatures in various dungeons and also grinded some musical note sprites. Now, Zhou had nearly 10,000 musical note sprites. Under the control of the Golden Harp, they were of some use. However, they were still a distance from the million-strong musical note army that Zhou had hoped for. I heard that there's an undead calamity in the West District. Millions of undead roam the land. In the future, I'll control the million-strong musical note army and create a musical calamity. It'll be much more stylish than the undead calamity. At the very least, it'll look better than them, Zhou thought. As he killed his way through, his luck seemed especially bad today. No rare companion beast dropped. It just so happened that it was time for Medusa to respawn. Zhou planned on grinding Medusa as well. When he arrived at the Cursed Demon Palace, Zhou suddenly thought of something. Every time he came to the Cursed Demon Palace, the beautiful girl would transform into a demon, Medusa. Therefore, every time Zhou killed a Medusa in her demon form, if I kill the beautiful girl before she becomes a Medusa, what will the consequences be? With this thought in mind, Zhou couldn't hold back his emotions. How can I kill her before she transforms? Zhou didn't open the door to Medusa's palace. In the past, Zhou had attacked her when she was in her beautiful girl form, but as long as he attacked her, she would immediately transform into Medusa. It was clearly not an easy task to kill her before she transformed into Medusa. In terms of speed, my transcendent flying immortal is already fast enough, but I can't kill the beautiful girl before she becomes Medusa. In that case, I can only rely on her. Zhou's heart stirred as he looked at demonic neonate, who was standing there with a cold expression like a doll hugging the demonic sword. As long as Zhou didn't take the initiative to attack, the beautiful girl wouldn't become Medusa even if he entered the palace. After Zhou finished counting everything, he carried demonic neonate into the palace. Indeed, he saw Medusa sitting there quietly. Medusa was still a beautiful and pure girl. Just a glance at her made one feel pity for her. If it wasn't in-game, but in the real world, Zhou really wouldn't have the heart to kill her. However, this was a game world. No matter how beautiful she was still an NPC. He didn't have any qualms. Zhou walked towards the beautiful girl step by step. He didn't condense any essence energy, nor did he use any companion beasts. However, demonic neonate was lying on his back, secretly looking at the beautiful Medusa with her raven-black eyes. When he arrived in front of the beautiful girl, Zhou didn't continue forward. If he continued forward, even if Zhou didn't attack her, the beautiful girl would become a Medusa. At that moment, demonic neonate, who was lying on Zhou's back, suddenly moved. A black-purple sword beam drilled out from under the blood-colored avatar's crotch. Without giving the beautiful girl a chance to react, the demonic sword had already stabbed into her chest, splattering her blood on the spot. The demonic aura invaded her body, causing her to fall to the ground. It's done. Zhou was delighted as he looked at the beautiful girl's corpse, only to see it disintegrating and vanishing. Ding! Soon, something fell out of the ground. Zhou took a careful look and was immediately overjoyed. The thing the beautiful girl dropped was a companion egg. It was crystalline like a sapphire. A companion beast actually dropped. Zhou found it unbelievable. It wasn't the first or second day he had been grinding Medusa. Dimensional crystals had dropped, but he had never had a companion egg drop. Could it be that only by killing a beautiful Medusa can a companion egg drop? Zhou guessed as he picked up the companion egg. Chapter 705. Medusa, Mythical Life Providence, Tragic Beauty Life Soul, Eyes of Enticement Wheel of Destiny, Demon God Transformation Strength, 41 Speed, 41 Constitution, 41 Essence Energy, 41 Talent Skill, None Companion Form. None. Zhou was alarmed when he saw Medusa's stats. Zhou had only seen Primordial Spore at such a weak mythical stage before. However, Primordial Spore at least had an eternal, indestructible life providence that made it invincible. It also had a parasitic skill that was very useful. However, Medusa was ridiculously weak. She didn't have any skills, and her life providence was a negative skill that reduced her stats. The only useful ones were probably the Eyes of Enticement and Demon God Transformation. The Eyes of Enticement and the Eyes of Petrification were very similar. They could petrify people, but the restrictions of the Eyes of Enticement were much greater than the Eyes of Petrification. The Demon God Transformation was even more ridiculous. It was actually a one-time use Wheel of Destiny. The annotation made it very clear that once used, one would forever transform into a demon god, unable to recover their human form. From the looks of it, Medusa should become a snake-haired demoness after using the demon god transformation. Although becoming a snake-haired goddess will definitely make her much stronger than now, that snake-haired demoness look is a little too ugly. She looks better now, but what's the use of looking good? It can't be eaten, nor can it block bullets. Although he had such thoughts, Zhou still couldn't bring himself to do it when he thought of such a beautiful Medusa becoming an ugly snake-haired demoness. Forget it. I'll keep it for now. Who knows, it might have some special effects. Zhou planned on grinding Medusa tomorrow to see if Medusa in her teenage form would continue dropping companion eggs. If companion eggs could still drop, he would try the consequences of Demon God Transformation. Before Zhou could wait for Medusa to respawn again, a companion beast challenged Origin Realm King on the rankings. This time, the person who challenged Origin Realm King was none other than Death of the Underworld. Li Xian invited Zhou to the cube to watch the duel. When they arrived, Origin Realm King hadn't accepted the challenge. Old Zhou, who do you think will win this battle? Li Xian asked. It's hard to say, Zhou said with a shake of his head. The battle between Origin Realm King and Death of the Underworld was really worth watching. Zhou couldn't predict the final outcome. Death of the Underworld was a spirit body, so physical damage was almost useless. It was useless even if Origin Realm King entered its body. However, it was also unknown if the Underworld attacks were effective against Origin Realm King. Therefore, Zhou was very curious about the outcome of this battle. Soon, it was the last 10-minute countdown. Just like last time, the name on the ranking finally flashed. Origin Realm King had accepted the challenge. Everyone, including Zhou, widened their eyes. They wanted to know how Death of the Underworld would deal with Origin Realm King. With Light Beast, as an example, Death of the Underworld would definitely do something. It might even directly use its Wheel of Destiny to bring Origin Realm King into the Underworld for a decisive battle, just like what it had done to Primordial Sword Immortal. However, to everyone's surprise, after Origin Realm King accepted the challenge, Death of the Underworld didn't do anything. All he did was float in the air. What's going on? Why isn't the Death God of the Underworld moving? Does he want to passively take a beating? To deal with an invisible Origin Realm King, shouldn't we strike first and force it out? What is he trying to do? Everyone discussed as they guessed what Death of the Underworld was planning to do. When Zhou saw Death of the Underworld motionless as though it had fallen asleep, his heart skipped a beat as he cursed inwardly. Not good. Someone guessed that Origin Realm King is a tiny companion beast like me. They know that its strength isn't enough to kill a top mythical companion beast, so they want to use this characteristic of Origin Realm King to forcefully stall for time. They want to wait for the countdown to end before defeating Origin Realm King. Zhou already understood why Death of the Underworld was doing this. In fact, Zhou had also thought of a similar method. For example, he could get Tyrant Behemoth to challenge Origin Realm King. If Origin Realm King couldn't kill Tyrant Behemoth, he could continue stalling until the time was up. However, Zhou gave up on this plan because Tyrant Behemoth might not be able to kill Origin Realm King. Now that Death of the Underworld had actually used such a plan, it meant that its owner was confident that he could defeat Origin Realm King at the final moment. Zhou originally imagined that Origin Realm King would definitely take this opportunity to see if it could kill Death of the Underworld. However, to his surprise, Origin Realm King didn't move. Zhou thought for a moment and immediately understood that Origin Realm King's owner was indeed very powerful. It was the best choice for him not to let Origin Realm King move now. If Origin Realm King was really, as Zhou and company had deduced, a miniature companion beast that wasn't very strong, then if it attacked now, not only would it not be able to kill Death of the Underworld, but it would also expose its true strength, allowing Death of the Underworld's owner to understand Origin Realm King's weakness better. However, now that Origin Realm King remained motionless, it gave Death of the Underworld immense pressure. If it didn't move, Death of the Underworld's owner wouldn't be able to confirm if his judgment was correct. He would have doubts. Could it be that Origin Realm King also wants to stall for time? Could it be that it's different from my judgment? Could it be that it has the confidence to defeat Death of the Underworld when the countdown ends? All sorts of guesses appeared in his mind. Originally, Death of the Underworld was stalling for time, but now, both sides were stalling for time. No one could be sure that Origin Realm King really didn't have the ability to defeat Death of the Underworld. If this continued, there would be no time or chance if Death of the Underworld was defeated in the end. If Death of the Underworld began attacking now, the previous plan would fail. It would also expose Death of the Underworld's strength. It was equivalent to shooting oneself in the foot. Although the two companion beasts in the arena didn't move, the battle had already begun. Such a battle was no longer limited to the arena. Instead, the owners of the two companion beasts were engaged in a psychological battle. Ordinary people couldn't tell what was going on. After waiting for a long time, they were originally looking forward to a huge battle, but to their surprise, one of the companion beasts in the arena couldn't be seen. The other companion beast didn't move at all. It was truly depressing. What the hell? Didn't they say they wanted a challenge? Why aren't they fighting? Hurry up and fight. Let us see which one is really number one, Origin Realm King or Death of the Underworld. Didn't you see? Death of the Underworld doesn't even dare move. It must be afraid of Origin Realm King. Once Origin Realm King attacks, Death of the Underworld will die like Light Beast. Bullsh asterisk T. It's clearly Origin Realm King that's afraid of Death of the Underworld. Don't you see that it doesn't dare attack at all? Death of the Underworld is about to fall asleep waiting for it to attack. The arena remained motionless. The fans of the two companion beasts and the streamers who supported them began a war of words. So Gu. Chapter 706. The silent battle continued, making many onlookers very dissatisfied. They had been standing there for hours without moving. How was this a duel? It was more like a punishment than a duel. Doubts of a rigged match had already begun to spread. Some people already suspected that Origin Realm King and Death of the Underworld came from the same faction. They were stalling for time in order to directly obtain first place. In fact, many people in the six families had such suspicions. Joan also felt that something was amiss. Although Death of the Underworld might not belong to the same faction as Origin Realm King, if they continued wasting time like this, first place would definitely be produced by one of them once the time was up. All the factions that still had hopes of getting first place were paying attention to the situation of this battle. At the same time, they were secretly scouting for information. Although they didn't know who Origin Realm King belonged to, Death of the Underworld was undoubtedly from the family clan of gods. Therefore, all sorts of probing and pressure on the family clan of gods continued. Old Frank, if you can't do it, quickly admit defeat. Don't let that Origin Realm King benefit from it later, Leg Capet said with a smile on the video call with Frank of the family clan of gods. Frank said indifferently, "Don't worry about it." Leg continued, "Old Frank, if you have 100% confidence in defeating Origin Realm King, it doesn't matter if you wait until the end. But if you aren't 100% confident, why not leave a chance?" Frank naturally understood what Leg meant. He was also very conflicted. He originally wanted to drag things out until the end before letting Death of the Underworld defeat Origin Realm King. He shared Zhou Wen's guess. He believed that Origin Realm King was an extremely tiny companion beast. As long as Death of the Underworld opened the underworld and pulled the tiny companion beast into the underworld, it would no longer be able to hide. When that happened, it wouldn't be difficult to kill it. However, Origin Realm King was also stalling for time. This made Frank somewhat worried. The abilities of Death of the Underworld were already known by many people. Origin Realm King's master definitely knew a little, but he still chose to hold back. This made Boral suspect that Origin Realm King had the ability to defeat Death of the Underworld. However, it could also be a psychological battle. After hanging up, Frank was thinking about what to do next when Fayez said, "Father, if you aren't completely confident of winning, why don't we do as Leg said and leave a chance in the end? We can still grasp the opportunity in our hands." "Tell me about it," Boral said, looking at Faya. Faya said, "Since we can't be sure if Death of the Underworld can defeat Origin Realm King, why don't we complete the battle before the final time limit? It's naturally best if we can win. If we can't, we'll find an opportunity to forfeit. When the time comes, our companion beast can challenge first. It's equivalent to having an additional chance. I'm just afraid that this opportunity will be snatched away by someone else," Bohr muttered. "There can only be one challenger. It all depends on who can challenge faster. We can decide when the death god of the underworld surrenders, so we can challenge him at the same time. How can anyone be faster than us?" Fayez said, "That's right. Let's do it that way. Prepare your companion beasts. If Death of the Underworld fails, you'll be the one to complete the final battle," Shockwave said after some thought. Because there was no battle happening in the fighting ring, many of the spectators had already lost their patience after waiting for several hours. Many people chose to go back to work or do other things, planning to wait until the countdown ended before coming back to see the results. Zhou watched his time tick by. Neither side had any intention of taking action. From the looks of it, they wanted to drag it out until the countdown ended. He knew that there was probably no hope of vying for first place. However, Zhouwen still held onto a glimmer of hope as he rushed to the town in Funya Mountain. He wanted to wait for the countdown to end. If there was still a chance, he could take another gamble. In fact, there were many people with the same thoughts as Zhouwen. Many people from the large families were waiting in front of the cube. Once the battle ended or one side forfeited, they would immediately issue a challenge. Regardless of whether they could win in the end, it was better than having no chance at all. Time slowly passed. When there were only 2 hours left of the countdown, more and more people returned to the cube. Most of them wanted to return to see the outcome. However, Death of the Underworld and Origin Realm King remained motionless. One couldn't be seen, and the other didn't move at all. An hour and a half, an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes. Suddenly, Death of the Underworld, who had been silent all this while, finally moved. Its cloak spread out, and the strange underworld domain was about to devour the entire arena. This was identical to when it fought Primordial Sword Immortal back then. However, Origin Realm King wasn't Primordial Sword Immortal. If it were to fall into it, it would be a problem if it could storm out. Everyone's minds jolted. Death of the Underworld's sudden attack meant that the two companion beasts didn't come from the same faction. They still had to decide the victor. Although there was less than an hour and 10 minutes left, time meant a chance. The only thing they were afraid of was that there was too little time left. If one side was defeated, there was less than an hour left. Then, even if they chose to challenge, the other party would have an hour to prepare to accept the challenge. If they didn't accept the challenge, the countdown would end. Please decide the winner within an hour. Many people were praying, but no one had expected that the outcome would be decided much faster than they had imagined. Just as the death god of the underworld activated the underworld domain, a strange scene suddenly occurred. Inside Death of the Underworld's grayish smoke-like spirit body, a flower suddenly grew out of its head. The flower was as beautiful as snow, and there was lightning swirling on it like an electric flower. The flower rapidly grew. Almost in an instant, it went from a bud to a blooming state. As the flower bloomed, Death of the Underworld's spirit body seemed to be pulled by some force as it quickly flowed into the flower's body, as though it had been devoured by the flower. Before the underworld domain completely opened, half of Death of the Underworld's body had been sucked into the flower. No good. Frank was alarmed. He hurriedly wanted to give up and admit defeat, but it was already too late. The remaining half of Death of the Underworld's body was absorbed by the flower in the blink of an eye. As for the flower, it bloomed and shimmered with a strange electric light. Then, it quickly withered and vanished as though nothing had happened. Everyone was stunned. No one dared to believe that the almost invincible Death of the Underworld had died just like that. Old Frank's expression was ashen. Faya, who was about to challenge, was also stunned. Death of the Underworld had been instantly killed. It was just too shocking, making him hesitate. He was afraid that his companion beasts would suffer the same outcome if they entered. It wasn't just Faya. Everyone who was preparing to challenge felt a moment of hesitation. The death of the Underworld was just too shocking. Origin Realm King is too powerful. The people watching the battle also had such thoughts. Chapter 707. Just as everyone was in a daze, a companion beast issued a challenge almost immediately. The cube screen lit up again as a name, and a companion beast appeared on the screen. Tai Sui. Everyone was slightly taken aback when they saw the companion beast in name. The people from the East District knew what Tai Sui was, but the people from the other districts didn't know what it was. However, when they saw a white and tender ball appear on the screen, it didn't look like an especially powerful companion beast. No way. Is that thing a slime? Can such a companion beast challenge an invincible companion beast, like Origin Realm King? Someone from the West District said, is it a legendary bubble monster? The people from the North District were puzzled. Why is such a companion beast challenging Origin Realm King? Isn't this guaranteeing Origin Realm King first place? Don't tell me they're in cahoots. Many people guessed. Although the people from the East District knew about Tai Sui, they didn't know much about its abilities. They only heard that Tai Sui brought bad luck. As the saying went, those who touch Tai Sui are bound to suffer a calamity. It was very popular among the people in the East District. However, even if it could bring bad luck, it was impossible to rely on bad luck to defeat a powerful existence like Origin Realm King, right? That was a terrifying existence that could kill Death of the Underworld. However, Zhou didn't think so. Before Origin Realm King killed Death of the Underworld, Zhou didn't dare release Tai Sui to challenge it. However, after seeing how Origin Realm King killed Death of the Underworld, Zhou was finally certain that Tai Sui could restrain it. In essence, Origin Realm King was likely a type of microorganism, not some special substance. As for Tai Sui, it had an extremely strong restraining effect on all kinds of microorganisms. It could devour mythical primordial spore at the mortal stage, much less now that it was at the epic stage. The chances of it defeating Origin Realm King were very high. Time ticked by. Origin Realm King didn't accept the challenge. In the blink of an eye, there was less than an hour left. What? Origin Realm King is stalling for time. From the looks of it, there's no suspense. First place is undoubtedly Origin Realm King. Origin Realm King is really too powerful. An existence like Death of the Underworld was actually killed by it. It didn't even have the chance to forfeit. Did you guys see that? What's going on with that flower just now? As soon as that flower appeared, it sucked the death god of the underworld to death. I wonder what kind of ability it has. I should have thought of it long ago. Even Primordial Sword Immortal isn't a match for Origin Realm King, much less Death of the Underworld. Almost everyone believed that there was no suspense in this battle. Origin Realm King was undoubtedly first. The rest of the time had become garbage time. After Tai Sui was defeated, there wasn't enough time left to challenge. Even if he had a companion beast that could fight Origin Realm King, he wouldn't have the chance. However, some people didn't think so. Lung Zongjing had seen Zhou when's Tai Sui and knew that it had a strong restraining effect on microorganisms. Furthermore, he had clearly determined that Origin Realm King was a microorganism. From the looks of it, he got lucky. Your Zhou Wen's luck is really extraordinary, Lung Zongjing said to Tianzhua as he watched the livestream. And Tianzhua said expressionlessly, "You can't just rely on luck. If you only rely on luck, you'll suffer a great loss sooner or later." Lung Zongjing said with a smile, "Actually, luck is similar to money. Money isn't omnipotent, but it's impossible without money." There was less than half an hour left, but Origin Realm King still hadn't accepted the challenge. Everyone believed that Origin Realm King would accept the challenge at the last minute. Then, with less than 10 minutes left on the countdown, its first place would be secured. At the last minute, Origin Realm King still didn't accept the challenge. There were less than 10 seconds left to accept the challenge, but Origin Realm King still didn't take any action. It made people feel that something was amiss. What's going on? It hasn't accepted the challenge yet? There's no need to make it so exciting, right? Does it want to accept the challenge at the last second? Don't tell me it's afraid of Tai Sui. What a joke. How is that possible? That's Origin Realm King. 7, 6, 5, 4. Everyone counted silently in their hearts. But until the last second, Origin Realm King didn't accept the challenge. Seeing the name of Origin Realm King, who was first on the rankings, being pushed down and Tai Sui's name appearing at the top of the rankings, the entire Federation and overseas fell into an uproar. Origin Realm King actually doesn't dare accept the challenge? Is that Tai Sui that strong? Tai Sui? What kind of companion beast is it? I've long known that Tai Sui is extraordinary, but I didn't say it. Facing Primordial Sword Immortal and Death of the Underworld, Origin Realm King can absolutely suppress them, but it actually doesn't dare accept Tai Sui's challenge. It doesn't even have the courage to fight. Tai Sui is too terrifying. I really want to know what kind of abilities it has. What bullsh asterisk T Tai Sui? I think it's fake. They're in cahoots. I don't think so. Origin Realm King is already first. If they're in cahoots, there's no need to admit defeat and let Tai Sui take the top spot. As people discussed, they saw another companion beast issue a challenge. However, Tai Sui ignored it. It didn't accept the challenge until the 72-hour countdown on the cube ended. The scene on the cube transformed into a ranking. Tai Sui was first, and Origin Realm King, who had forfeited, was second. Third was Primordial Sword Immortal, and fourth was Zhou Wen's Tyrant Behemoth. When it reached the 100th place, the names of the companion beasts emitted a resplendent glow, letting the entire world know that these were the strongest 100 companion beasts among humans. However, most people didn't expect that Tai Sui, who was ranked first, had yet to advance to the mythical stage. "Mommy, Tai Sui is so cute. I want a Tai Sui doll. Can our factory produce it?" A little boy held a tyrant behemoth doll in his arms as he looked at his mother in anticipation. His mother was somewhat hesitant. Although Tai Sui looked cute, it didn't bode well. "Mommy, our tyrant behemoth dolls are very popular. I believe Tai Sui dolls will definitely be very popular as well. All right?" The little boy pulled his mother's hand and wheedled. "All right, let's give it a try." His mother stroked the boy's head dotingly. Chapter 708. The 100 names on the cube lit up. Zhou Wen suddenly felt a huge energy appear out of thin air in the bodies of the 3 companion beasts on the rankings: Tai Sui, Tyrant Behemoth, and Six-Winged Guardian Dragon. The energy that appeared in Six-Winged Guardian Dragon's body was the smallest. It didn't seem to have changed much. The energy in Tyrant Behemoth's body was immense, causing its body to constantly churn. The most powerful energy was in Tai Sui's body. The power was so powerful that it turned Tai Sui into an egg and began to evolve. So the companion beasts on the rankings really have benefits. They can all obtain a strange power. However, the higher the ranking, the stronger the power obtained. As Zhou Wen thought to himself, he first looked at Six-Winged Guardian Dragon's situation. As it had obtained very little energy, the power had been completely absorbed by it. Zhou Wen took out his phone and checked Six-Winged Guardian Dragon's stats. To his surprise, he discovered that Six-Winged Guardian Dragon's strength had reached 81 points. After being strengthened by the cube, all of Six-Winged Guardian Dragon's stats had reached 80 points, but that was all. They were still the limits of mythical creatures. This time, Six-Winged Guardian Dragon had obtained the energy, allowing its strength to break through to 81 points. Although it was only 1 point, it was very significant. This was because only top mythical creatures had 81 points. As Six-Winged Guardian Dragon hadn't accepted any challenges, its ranking kept dropping after being challenged by other companion beasts. Now it was ranked in the 70s. Such a ranking actually increased its stats by 1 point. It felt very powerful. Zhou Wen couldn't wait to see Tyrant Behemoth. He wanted to know what kind of enhancement it had obtained. It was ranked 4th, and the energy it obtained was immense. It was far from what Six-Winged Guardian Dragon had obtained. When Zhou Wen looked at Behemoth, he realized that the power in its body wasn't constantly erupting. Its stats hadn't changed for the time being. After waiting for more than an hour, Behemoth's strength gradually stopped erupting. Zhou Wen hurriedly looked at its stats. Behemoth's stats were top-notch to begin with. Now, they were still at 81 points. There were no changes. Zhou Wen carefully looked at Tyrant Behemoth's Life Providence, Life Soul, and Wheel of Destiny. There were no changes either. When Zhou Wen saw Behemoth's talent skill, he was immediately overjoyed. Originally, Tyrant only had 1 talent skill, Mountain Devouring. But now, Tyrant Behemoth had another skill. The skill's name was Rampage. After reading the skill introduction of Rampage, Zhou Wen was even more excited. This skill could increase his speed and strength for a short period of time. It was very useful for Tyrant Behemoth, allowing its strength to improve further. If I had known that there were so many benefits, I would have gotten all the companion beasts to get a ranking. Even if I can't obtain talent skills, it's good to increase my stats. Of course, Zhou Wen only had such a thought. It wasn't worth it to expose his companion beast abilities in exchange for stats. The skills that Tyrant Behemoth obtained were only icing on the cake. They didn't have an absolute impact on Tyrant Behemoth's strength. The one who had the greatest impact was the evolving Tai Sui. The immense power allowed Tai Sui to directly evolve. When it completed its evolution, it would likely be at the mythical stage. In addition, Tai Sui had obtained first place, so it should have a chance to pluck the divine fruit. However, Zhou didn't discover the passageway that led to the divine tree. Just as Zhou was feeling suspicious, he saw a pillar of light rise from the center of the cube that led straight into the void. Just as Zhou was hesitating about walking towards the pillar of light, he suddenly realized that a figure was slowly descending from the pillar of light. It was none other than the mythical Wang Mingyuan. I never expected that the companion beast that obtained first place would be you, little one. Wang Mingyuan said to Zhou Wan as he slowly landed on the cube. Zhou Wan looked at Wang Mingyuan and was momentarily at a loss for words. Wang Mingyuan was his teacher and had treated him well. From this aspect, Zhou Wan should respect him. However, at the same time, Wang Mingyuan had caused great harm to the Federation. From this point of view, Wang Mingyuan was already an enemy of humanity. As a member of humanity, Zhou Wan should treat Wang Mingyuan as an enemy. Therefore, Zhou Wan's emotions were extremely complicated. He looked at Wang Mingyuan and opened his mouth before calling out, "Teacher." Wang Mingyuan could tell that Zhou Wan was conflicted, but he didn't think much of it. He smiled and said, "I'm already very gratified that you can call me teacher again. Come, go and get the reward you deserve." With that said, Wang Mingyuan walked up the pillar of light. At the end of the pillar of light, the phenomenon of the divine garden appeared. The divine tree also appeared. Zhou Wan followed behind Wang Mingyuan and walked into the pillar of light. Immediately, he felt a gentle force envelop his body as it slowly rose towards the divine garden at the end of the pillar of light. Soon, Zhou Wan followed Wang Mingyuan into the divine garden and immediately smelled the fruity fragrance. The air in the divine garden was clean and pure. Even with the holy Hell King's eye, he couldn't sense any impurities. There was no dust or bacteria, just like the legendary Pure Land of Bliss. Even if one wanted to get sick here, it would probably be very difficult. There was no way to get infected. Do you know the name of this tree? Wang Mingyuan walked in front of the divine tree and stared at it with a complicated expression. Does its name matter? Zhou Wan asked. To ordinary people, its name isn't important, but to me, its name is very important, Wang Mingyuan said. What's its name? Zhou Wan asked curiously. Its name is Samsara, Wang Mingyuan said slowly. Samsara? Zhou Wan looked at the Samsara tree with mixed emotions as he thought to himself. If there really is samsara in this world and teacher is given a chance to live again, will he still make the same choice in this life? Little one, go pluck that divine fruit. This is the only divine fruit that has matured in the past year. It can allow any companion beast to advance to the mythical stage. Even if it's just a mortal companion beast, as long as it consumes it, it can still advance to the mythical stage, Wang Mingyuan said. Although he had already guessed it, Zhou Wan still asked, what if someone eats it? I believe you won't like that outcome. Wang Mingyuan smiled and looked at Zhou Wan before continuing, of course you can give it a try. There are some things that you have to experience before you know if it's good for you. There's not much time left. Quickly pluck the divine fruit. Don't let it land on the ground, or it will be useless. Zhou Wan walked in front of the samsara tree and reached out to grab the ripe fruit. With a gentle tug, he plucked the fruit. Chapter 709. The fruit that emitted a godhood glow felt like a peach in his hand. Teacher, have you realized your dream? Zhou Wan put away the fruit and asked Wang Mingyuan. If it's that easy to realize, it wouldn't be called a dream. Wang Mingyuan pondered for a moment before pointing into the distance. Look over there. Zhou Wan looked in the direction Wang Mingyuan was pointing and saw a huge building in the void. The building was extremely strange. It was like a pillar that emitted a godhood glow that pierced through the void. It was unimaginably huge. What's that? Zhou Wan asked. The dimensional axis. It's its existence that connects Earth and the dimension, Wang Mingyuan said. Zhou Wan's eyes lit up. If we can sever the dimensional axis, will we be able to stop the invasion of dimensional creatures? In theory, it's indeed feasible. However, there's more than one dimensional axis. It connects to different dimensional spaces. Every dimensional axis is the core of the dimensional space. Almost all the most terrifying dimensional creatures will gather here. It's very difficult to reach there. Furthermore, the dimensional axis can connect dimensions. It's not that easy to destroy, Wang Mingyuan said. Teacher, you've already thought of a solution, right? Zhou Wen asked. I've indeed thought a way to sever the dimensional axis, but I don't want to sever it, Wang Mingyuan said. Why? Zhou Wen was stunned. I only thought of a solution, but it will take too long to implement it. I'm afraid Earth will already be occupied by dimensional creatures before I can even sever a single dimensional axis. Therefore, I don't want to sever it, Wang Mingyuan said as he narrowed his eyes at the dimensional axis. Why? Zhou Wen asked in puzzlement. No matter how difficult it was, there was still a chance as long as he did it. Wasn't Wang Mingyuan going deep into the dimension to stop the dimensional invasion? Why did he give up at this moment? In ancient times, floods were a disaster. Humans wanted to control the floods. In the beginning, they wanted to build high walls to block the floods. Do you know what the outcome was? Wang Mingyuan asked. Zhou Wen had heard of this myth before. In the end, the person who tried to stop the flood naturally failed. The higher the wall was built, the stronger the flood would be. Once it erupted, it would cause 10 to 100 times more destructive power. Zhou Wen's eyes lit up as he looked at Wang Mingyuan and said, Teacher, do you mean to think of a way to guide the dimensional creatures to other dimensions instead of charging towards Earth? Wang Mingyuan calmly looked at the dimensional axis and calmly said, No. What I mean is that I want to control the flood and make it listen to my orders. They will go wherever I want them to go and do whatever I want them to do. I want to control everything about them. Dominate the dimension? Zhou Wen's heart stirred. If it was really as Wang Mingyuan said, he would one day be able to stand above all the races in the universe and become an existence that dominated the dimension. How delightful would that be? But this path was simply too difficult. Even someone as talented as Wang Mingyuan would find it as difficult as the ancients ascending to the heavens if they wanted to reach that step. Little one, Wang Mingyuan's gaze landed on Zhou Wen's face as he said in a strange tone, Don't take my path. There's only death at the end of this path. Zhou Wen was alarmed as he hurriedly asked, Is there a problem with the spirit casting art? He was somewhat worried. With Zhong Ziya's personality, there was a high chance that he would take this path. If there was really a problem with the spirit casting art, Zhong Ziya would be in danger. There's no problem with the spirit casting art, but this path isn't for humans. Wang Mingyuan sighed softly and waved his sleeve. A force swept toward Zhou Wen as he said, Don't come again next time. This isn't a place you should be. Zhou Wen was about to say something when his body was sent into the void by an invisible force. The light in front of him changed, and when his body returned to normal, he had already fallen onto the town's cube. Zhou Wen stood up and looked up at the sky, but the pillar of light was already gone. The feeling in his heart was indescribable. Wang Mingyuan's last sentence had already hinted at something. If he wasn't Wang Mingyuan's student, he might not have been able to pluck the divine fruit so easily. Unfortunately, Zhou Wen still didn't know what would happen to the person who obtained the divine fruit or what needed to be done. After Zhou Wen left, Wang Mingyuan sat on the tree root and closed his eyes as though he was deep in thought. In the void above the Pure Land, lightning suddenly flashed. It was as though the end of the world had arrived as a terrifying divine voice sounded from the void. Wang Mingyuan, you actually dared to violate the agreement. You should know what the consequences are. Wang Mingyuan's eyes remained closed as he said indifferently, Since I've done it, I will naturally bear all the consequences. Very well, then prepare to receive divine punishment. Along with the divine voice, a terrifying bolt of lightning descended. Bolts of lightning descended from the void and stabbed into Wang Mingyuan's body like sharp swords. One bolt of lightning after another stabbed into his body, causing his entire body to be covered in lightning. However, Wang Mingyuan sat there without any change in his expression. It was as though the crackling lightning that had stabbed into his body didn't exist. However, spots of blood appeared on his white robe, like blooming peach blossoms. The divine punishment will continue until the next divine fruit ripens. I hope you will still be alive when that happens. The voice in the void receded as the lightning in the sky vanished. The Pure Land returned to its original peace. Only the lightning on Wang Mingyuan's body was shaking like countless lightning needles inside his body. Zhou returned to school and took out the divine fruit, but he was somewhat hesitant. There was only one divine fruit, and its use was to raise a companion beast to the mythical stage. There was naturally no need to consider companion beasts that had already advanced to the mythical stage. Among the companion beasts that had yet to advance to the mythical stage, demonic neonate had the greatest potential. However, demonic neonate had the ability to evolve. It was only a matter of time before she advanced to the mythical stage. As for the divine fruit's greatest use, it could allow any companion egg to advance to the mythical stage. From this point of view, it was best to choose a low-level companion beast with immense potential to advance to the mythical stage. Zhou really had a few companion beasts with such potential. For example, Dr. Darkness, Golden Harp, Fiend-Armored Tiger Soul General, and so on. All of them had immense potential. Of course, Zhou didn't dare let the Fiend-Armored Tiger Soul General advance any further, so it could be excluded. Zhou idea was to choose between Dr. Darkness and the Golden Harp. However, this was also risky. This was because he didn't know if the Wheel of Destiny they condensed after advancing to the mythical stage would be useful. If they condensed a useless Wheel of Destiny, he might as well let demonic neonate advance to the mythical stage. Her mythical stage was definitely extraordinary, allowing her to immediately possess powerful combat strength. Zhou was somewhat hesitant, momentarily unable to make a decision. Chapter 710. Explosive Fiend Man hasn't advanced to the epic stage yet. It seems like a good choice to advance him to the mythical stage. However, Explosive Fiend Man has the ability to evolve. There's still a chance for him to advance to the mythical stage in the future. After some thought, Zhou summoned Dr. Darkness. Dr. Darkness's abilities were rather outstanding. Furthermore, his ability to fight poison with poison could resolve many problems that ordinary powers couldn't resolve. More importantly, Dr. Darkness's companion form was a soul. It could directly raise Zhou's strength. This was a very useful ability for him. If Dr. Darkness could advance to the mythical stage, it would probably be of greater help. Without any hesitation, he handed the divine fruit to Dr. Darkness. Dr. Darkness received the divine fruit, and his eyes flashed with excitement as he swallowed it. His body immediately emitted a godhood glow that grew stronger and stronger. Finally, it turned Dr. Darkness into an egg. It was different from the evolution of typical companion beasts. Typical companion beasts took a long time to evolve, but after Dr. Darkness turned into an egg, he immediately completed his evolution and hatched. In moments, he completed his evolution from the epic stage to the mythical stage. The Dr. Darkness in front of him didn't look much different from before. He was still so dark and terrifying, like a puppet without any humanity. Zhou hurriedly took out his phone and looked at Dr. Darkness's information after his evolution. Dr. Darkness, Mythical Life Providence, Golden Left Hand Life Soul, Dr. Soul Wheel of Fortune, Dark Right Hand. Strength, 79 Speed, 81 Constitution, 67 Essence Energy, 81 Innate Skills, Scalpel, Fight Poison with Poison, Light of Penetration. Companion Form, Soul. Seeing that Dr. Darkness had indeed advanced to the mythical stage, his skills, Life Providence, and Life Soul didn't change. His stats had increased to the mythical stage, but they looked a little extreme. Typical mythical companion beasts had a limit of 80 points. Dr. Darkness's speed and essence energy reached 81 points. However, His strength and constitution did not even reach 80, which was considered very extreme. The Wheel of Destiny's name was Darkness Right Hand. It seemed to match his life providence, golden left hand, but he didn't know what abilities it had. Dark Right Hand, a place of darkness that not even divine light can reach. That place is a forbidden zone for the gods. Looking at the introduction, it didn't seem like it had anything to do with the right hand. Zhou entered the game, planning to test the power of Darkness Right Hand. He brought Dr. Darkness to the Deer Pursuit battlefield and encountered a Qi Zhou when immediately ordered Dr. Darkness, use Darkness Right Hand. Dr. Darkness stood there and watched as Qi ran over. He slowly raised his right hand. Dr. Darkness had the golden left-hand life providence. Be it strength or speed, his left hand was much stronger than his right hand. When Zhou got Dr. Darkness to attach himself to him as a soul, he could clearly sense that the strength and speed of his left hand had been enhanced. During that period of time, Zhou had deliberately practiced striking with his left hand because it was much faster than striking with his right hand. All along, Dr. Darkness's right hand had been relatively weak, but now, when Dr. Darkness raised his right hand, it seemed to burn with the power of a devil, like a black flame. The Qi had already rushed in front of Dr. Darkness, but Dr. Darkness remained motionless. Only when the Qi was about to hit him did Dr. Darkness turn his body slightly and dodge the Qi's impact, brushing past the Qi Zhou when kept staring at Dr. Darkness's hand, but he didn't see it move. When he saw Dr. Darkness brush past the Qi, he was puzzled as to why he didn't attack. However, when Dr. Darkness turned around, Zhou pupils constricted when he saw his right hand. In Dr. Darkness's right hand was a bloody, fresh heart. The heart was still beating. The Qi ran a few steps and let out a tragic cry. It suddenly fell to the ground and convulsed. Soon it died. Zhou looked at the Qi's corpse and didn't see any injuries. He didn't know how Dr. Darkness had plucked out its heart. Even I can't see how Dr. Darkness did it. Furthermore, his strength is too strange. He can actually pluck out the heart without any wounds. No, I have to see it again. Zhou continued forward with Dr. Darkness. Not long after, he encountered another Wangliang. This time, not only did Zhou push the Truth Listener Earring's abilities to its limits, but he also switched to the Holy Hell King Life Soul, raising his 8 senses to their limits. Zhou got Dr. Darkness to rush over. Soon, he brushed past the Wangliang. At that instant, Zhou felt his devil-like right hand move. As it was too fast, Zhou only felt it move, but he didn't see it clearly. However, Zhou was certain that the right hand had definitely moved. This was because there was an additional white thing on the right hand. It looked like a pig's brain, and the blood vessels on it were still squirming. How terrifying! Zhou was both surprised and delighted. The power of Darkness, right hand, could actually pluck out organs in an invisible manner. It was so fast that even Zhou couldn't see it clearly. Such an ability left his scalp tingling. In the future, if Zhou didn't like anyone, he could have Dr. Darkness pluck out their kidneys. If he didn't like them, he could pluck out their hearts, livers, and brains. It would scare them to death. However, Zhou wasn't sure if Darkness' right hand's ability was just fast or if it had any special effects. This was because Qi and Wangliang weren't injured, but their hearts and brains had been plucked out. Perhaps Dr. Darkness's Darkness right hand wasn't just fast. Zhou wanted to give it another try, so he went to the Metalwork Temple to find a runic heavy-armored warrior with extremely strong defense. The outcome was the same. After Dr. Darkness used Darkness' right hand, he easily plucked out his heart. The runic heavy armor was useless. Even the runes on it didn't light up. Too powerful. Darkness' right hand actually has the ability to penetrate through space. It can ignore defense and directly pluck out organs. Zhou became increasingly excited. With Dr. Darkness's ability, Zhou could ignore dimensional creatures with powerful defenses. More importantly, Dr. Darkness's companion form was a soul. He could attach himself to Zhou and allow him to use his abilities. In other words, Zhou could also use Darkness' right hand. This was equivalent to directly enhancing Zhou-Wen's strength and abilities. Zhou-Wen wanted to give it another try, but the outcome left him depressed. He couldn't use Darkness Right Hand again. After some research, he learned that Darkness Right Hand's ability could only be used 3 times in 24 hours. 3 times is enough. I'll pluck out the kidneys before plucking out the hearts. If that doesn't work, I'll pluck out the brains. I don't believe anyone can survive, Zhou-Wen thought. So Gu. Chapter 711. He attempted to get Dr. Darkness to attach himself to the blood-colored avatar as a soul. Zhou-Wen immediately felt his attributes increase, especially his left hand. After advancing to the mythical stage, the golden left hand life providence had a stronger augmentation on his left hand. After using Dr. Darkness's skills, he realized that the effects of his skills had increased significantly. Fight poison with poison's venom had become stronger. A milliliter of venom could instantly kill an epic creature, and it was a creature that was poisonous to begin with. The destructive power of the scalpel skill had become stronger and sharper. The eyes of penetration had received the greatest enhancement, and its ability to see through things had been further improved. It was not as troublesome to use as before, and its effect had been greatly improved. It was very easy to see through the body of a living creature. As long as Zhou-Wen used his eyes of penetration, he could see the meridians and blood vessels of a creature clearly. However, he could only see through living creatures. He was very poor at seeing through things like metal. All that's left is to experiment with Darkness Right Hand. If everything goes well, I might be able to enter Ant City and obtain the Guardian's blood. Zhou-Wen was somewhat excited. The Darkness Right Hand could dig out hearts out of thin air. Perhaps it could dig out the Guardian's heart as well. When that happened, it wouldn't just be a drop of blood. After waiting for 24 hours, Darkness Right Hand could finally be used again. Zhou-Wen got Dr. Darkness to possess the blood-colored avatar and carefully study the abilities of Darkness Right Hand. After Zhou-Wen's personal experience, Darkness Right Hand was indeed very powerful. It augmented his right hand's speed extremely well. At the same time, this augmentation wasn't only fast, but it also had the ability to pass through matter. From the current tests, there was nothing that could block the right hand of darkness and prevent it from passing through. The ability of Dark Right Hand wasn't limited to picking out internal organs. As long as the right hand could reach the area, it could pick anything it wanted. However, Dark Right Hand also had a flaw. Just like Poison Dragon Palm, it could only be used when the palm touched the opponent's body. This skill could not be used as a ranged attack. I thought I could pluck the heart from afar. I wonder if I can use my right hand to directly enter the Guardian's body with the speed of Darkness Right Hand. Zhou-Wen wasn't confident. Although the Dark Right Hand was very fast, the Guardian of Ant City was equally fast. Even if there's no way to remove the Guardian's heart, the ability of Darkness Right Hand is still very useful. If a dimensional creature like Primordial Spore invaded his body and he couldn't resolve it with Fight Poison with poison, he would have to rely on Darkness Right Hand's ability to take it out of his body. Also, this ability is undoubtedly a divine skill of doctors. Even if I can't make an incision, I can still perform surgery. Unfortunately, I'm not a doctor. Zhou-Wen left the last use of Darkness Right Hand to Medusa. After Medusa respawned, Zhou-Wen entered Medusa's palace. This time, he didn't get demonic neonate's help. With the speed of Darkness Right Hand, he used the eyes of penetration to pluck out Medusa's heart before she could transform. Unfortunately, Medusa didn't drop a companion egg this time. Only a speed crystal dropped. With this hand speed, I might really have a chance of obtaining the Guardian's blood. I don't need a heart. All I need is a drop of blood. Hope rose in Zhou-Wen's heart. After waiting for another 24 hours, when Darkness Right Hand could be used again, Zhou-Wen entered Ant City and arrived at the familiar ant nest. The golden flying ant was easily killed as Zhou-Wen arrived in front of the Guardian cocoon. However, this time, he had no intention of cracking the cocoon. Instead, he got Dr. Darkness to possess him and used the eyes of penetration. With the eyes of penetration, The situation inside the cocoon immediately appeared in Zhou Wen's eyes. The guardian was curled up in the cocoon. Her body had already matured, and the thin wings on her back had completely taken shape. Her body emitted a strange light. When the eyes of penetration saw her, the guardian sensed it and moved her body. Zhou Wen didn't dare hesitate as he used darkness' right hand. His right hand seemed to be enveloped by the power of a devil as it instantly vanished. Zhou Wen felt that everything in front of his right hand seemed to turn into water. His right hand easily passed through the cocoon and reached for the guardian's heart. The dark right hand was too fast, but the guardian still opened its eyes first and grabbed at the dark right hand with one hand. The guardian's hand failed to grab Darkness's right hand. Darkness's right hand passed through her palm. With a thought, Zhou Wen didn't pluck her heart. Instead, he extracted a drop of blood from her palm and quickly retracted it. Without any hesitation, Zhou Wen retracted Darkness's right hand and switched to Lost Country. He teleported away and rushed out of Ant City at full speed without looking back. Boom! Just as Zhou Wen rushed out of Ant City, the underground space of Ant City exploded and instantly turned into ruins. He didn't dare turn back. With a drop of blood, he controlled the blood-colored avatar to run as he circulated the First Order of Chaos to see if he could absorb it. After the First Order of Chaos circulated, the drop of blood was immediately absorbed. As the First Order of Chaos circulated, it gradually underwent a strange change. Can I finally condense a life soul? This way, the invisibility cloak companion egg might be able to hatch again. After Zhou Wen absorbed the blood, he switched dungeons to prevent the guardian from chasing after him. The First Order of Chaos constantly circulated. With the drop of Guardian's blood as its foundation, it fused with Zhou Wen's essence, vitality, and spirit as it nurtured some strange power. Zhou Wen originally imagined that the First Order of Chaos would be similar to the life soul condensed by the Tao Sutra. After all, both used the blood of the same guardian, and the type of essence energy art was very similar. However, when the First Order of Chaos truly condensed a life soul, Zhou Wen realized that his guess wasn't accurate. Although the two were similar, they were two different essence energy arts. Boom! Zhou Wen's essence, vitality, and spirit fused with his essence energy as though a terrifying explosion had occurred. It caused Zhou Wen's body and mind to tremble. In the next second, Zhou Wen realized that the blood-colored avatar's body had turned into an egg. No, it wasn't that the blood-colored avatar had turned into an egg. Instead, it had formed an eggshell-like barrier that completely enveloped the blood-colored avatar. An eggshell? What life soul is this? Zhou Wen found it odd as he looked at the information on his phone and saw the words Chaos Egg written in the life soul column. It really is an egg. Zhou Wen was somewhat curious. He didn't know what special effects this Chaos Egg life soul had. Chapter 712. Zhou Wen summoned the Chaos Egg in reality, but an eggshell immediately enveloped his body, making him curl up like a newborn baby. Inside the Chaos Egg, there was a mysterious force flowing. It was like water, but it wasn't corporeal. Zhou Wen couldn't move, nor did he know what use such an eggshell was. In such a state, Zhou Wen couldn't even move, much less fight. Such a life soul probably couldn't be used in battle. Forget this for now. Let's see if I can hatch the invisibility cloak. Zhou Wen took out the invisibility cloak companion egg and attempted to hatch it. Inside the Chaos Egg, Zhou Wen's essence energy stirred, and the invisibility cloak companion egg reacted. What was even more magical was that the strange power in the Chaos Egg also flowed into the invisibility cloak half egg. The vitality in the invisibility cloak companion egg became stronger and stronger. Before long, the companion egg transformed into a stream of light and entered Zhou Wen's body. It's done. Zhou Wen was overjoyed. After waiting for so long, he had finally hatched the invisibility cloak. It would be much more convenient for him to go anywhere in the future. With the invisibility cloak, he could freely enter and exit the dimensional zones controlled by the various families. There were a few dimensional zones that he had long wanted to visit, but because they were controlled by the 6 families, he had no chance of doing so. Zhou had long seen the invisibility cloak stats. There weren't any changes to it. He summoned it and wore it. A magical scene happened. Zhou body vanished into thin air. He was truly invisible. Zhou gave it a try and realized that the invisibility cloak's ability only made him invisible. To be truly invisible, he had to activate the Wheel of Destiny's power. Once the Wheel of Destiny appeared, the invisibility cloak could live up to its name. It reached the level of being invisible and intangible. No one could discover Zhou's traces. However, the Wheel of Destiny had a time limit. The invisibility time was only 3 minutes. 3 minutes is about enough. With Dr. Darkness's darkness right hand, it won't be difficult to assassinate anyone. Zhou's heart suddenly stirred. In the past, he couldn't kill the 9 black dragons because they could combine the powers of the 9 dragons into one. Now, with the invisibility cloak and the power of darkness right hand, he could completely enter invisibly. He could first kill 3 black dragons. With the strength of Tyrant Behemoth, Truth Listener, and the other companion beasts, the remaining 6 black dragons were very promising. With this in mind, Zhou couldn't wait to give it a try. Unfortunately, he had just used Darkness right hand once. He only had 2 more uses left. He had to wait for some time to recover. Young Master One, something happened to Deputy Governor Qin. Can you come over? And Sheng called with a heavy tone. Deputy Governor Qin, what's wrong? Is there anything I can help with? Zhou had a good impression of Qin Wufu, so he hurriedly asked when he heard that. And Sheng said, Deputy Governor Qin returned to Chess Mountain to guard it in the past few days. He happened to encounter a breakout creature rushing out of Chess Mountain, and an intense battle ensued. Deputy Governor Qin is severely injured, and we are helpless. We hope to borrow your strength to treat him. I don't know any medical skills. The last time I treated the parasitic spores, I also used the power of a companion beast, Zhou said. Even if I want to borrow the power of your companion beast, I can only give it a try. I'll pick you up now. We'll talk about it on the way. As Sheng spoke, he had already arrived outside the school. Zhou left the school and got into Sheng's car. As Sheng drove, he told Zhou the general situation. In fact, many experts in the Sunset Army had already seen Qin Wufu's injuries and found a reason for his serious injuries, but no one could save him. In Qin Wufu's brain, a strange dimensional creature had drilled into it. It was like a tumor that extended many blood vessels and was tightly entangled with Qin Wufu's brain. Unless Qin Wufu's brain was sliced open, there was no way to get the dimensional creature out of his brain. However, the brain was such a fragile place. The dimensional creature had already penetrated deep into it and was entangled with the brain. Even Chancellor Lung couldn't get the dimensional creature out without injuring Qin Wufu's brain. Many experts in the Sunset Army had come up with many solutions, but none of them worked. However, if they left the dimensional creature alone, it would keep invading Qin Wufu's brain. It was very likely that it would completely control Qin Wufu's brain and turn him into a puppet. And Sheng's idea was to let Zhou take a look and see if he could use the method of treating the parasitic mushrooms to inject poison into the dimensional creature, causing it to automatically die. The poison itself might also affect Deputy Governor Qin's brain. Furthermore, I don't know how resistant the dimensional creature's poison is. There's no way to accurately use the dosage of the poison. If too much poison is used, it will damage the brain. If too little is used, the dimensional creature's final struggle might destroy its entire brain. Zhou pondered, and Sheng nodded and said, Actually, the experts have already analyzed this treatment plan. Just as you said, it's very dangerous, but at this point, we can only give it a try. We can't just watch Deputy Governor Qin be destroyed just like that, right? Let's take a look at the situation first. There might be a way. Zhou thought that Darkness right hand might be useful, but it depended on the situation. All right, let's go first. And Sheng drove all the way to the military hospital. When Zhou saw Qin Wufu, He was already unconscious on the hospital bed. His body was connected to all sorts of equipment, and there were some strange companion beasts on him. A companion beast that looked like a jellyfish wrapped around his head. Its tentacles were connected to his brain, but it was unknown what they were for. Beside the bed, there were a few doctors and nurses. Many officers were in the room next door, looking at Qin Wufu through the glass window. And Tianzhuo was one of them, and he looked terrible. Overseer, young master one is here. And Sheng led Zhou went into the room. Zhou Wen and Tianzhuo subconsciously looked at each other before involuntarily looking away. And Tianzhuo looked at Sheng and was about to say something when the door to the room was pushed open. An officer walked over with an old man. Overseer, Mr. Dugu is here, the officer reported. Mr. Dugu, please take a look at Deputy Governor Qin's injuries, and Tianzhuo said to the old man. The old man didn't decline. After looking at all the diagnostic information and some radiographic films, he said, it's not impossible to remove the dimensional creature from Deputy Governor Qin's brain, but what conditions do you have? Just say it. And Tianzhuo said, Overseer, since you're so straightforward, I won't beat around the bush. 10 tons of refined essence gold can revive Deputy Governor Qin, the old man said confidently. Chapter 7:13. The expressions of the officers changed. 10 tons of refined essence gold. The Yin family might not even be able to produce that much refined essence gold in 3 years. And Sheng said, Mr. Dugu, can you reduce it a little? Or can you use money and dimensional crystals to make up for it? As you know, the production of refined essence gold is very low. It's really difficult to produce 10 tons of refined essence gold. The elder said with a smile, Adjutant, there's no need to be poor in front of an old man like me. Who doesn't know that the Yin family's essence gold mine is the richest mine in the Federation? 10 tons of refined essence gold might be a huge sum to others, but it shouldn't be much to the Yin family, right? I can guarantee that Deputy Governor Qin will completely recover. Don't worry about this. The Dugu family is an expert in this aspect. There's no one else in the entire Federation that dares to give you such a guarantee. Mr. Dugu, and Sheng wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by the elder. 10 tons of refined essence gold, not a single bit less. Why don't you discuss it again? However, you have to be quick. If that dimensional creature injures its brain, even my Dugu family will be helpless, the elder said. Everyone knew that the Dugu family was trying to take advantage of the situation, but there was nothing they could do. In all of Luoyang, no one could treat Qin Wufu's injuries. If they wanted Qin Wufu to live, this was probably the only way. And Tianzhuo's eyes were resolute. Just as he was about to say something, and Sheng interrupted him and said, Overseer, let young master one take a look at Governor Qin's injuries before making a decision. And Tianzhuo fell silent, but the elder beside him said confidently with a smile, It's fine. You can find anyone to take a look. I don't dare say anything else, but in the field of miniature companion beasts, if our Dugu family claims to be second, I'm afraid no one will dare to claim to be first. This dimensional creature that has invaded the brain can only be removed by our Dugu family. Young Master One. And Sheng looked at Zhou Wen. Zhou Wen nodded and said, I need to observe Governor Qin's condition up close. And Sheng hurriedly led Zhou Wen to the ward. On the way there, and Sheng whispered to Zhou Wen, Young Master One, using 10 tons of refined essence gold to save Governor Qin's life is nothing. As long as it can save someone, the overseer is willing to pay any price. But now, the arsenal's research on the new primordial gold weapons is at a critical stage, and we need a large amount of refined primordial gold for experimentation. Without this batch of primordial gold, the progress of the research will be delayed by a year or even longer. This will be a huge blow to Luoyang and the Yin family. I'll try my best, Zhou Wen said. After reading the information, he had some confidence in his heart. However, the photos taken by the equipment were not very clear. He still had to use his perspective eyes to see clearly to ensure that nothing went wrong. Standing by Qin Wufu's bed, Zhou Wen used his eyes of penetration to look at his brain. A strange dimensional creature that looked like it was formed from tangled blood vessels had invaded Qin Wufu's brain. The blood vessels that extended out were like a fishing net that wrapped around a portion of his brain. Furthermore, they were still spreading. Many of the blood vessels seemed to have grown together with the brain. It was difficult to remove them without harming the fragile brain itself. After watching for a while, Zhou dispelled his eyes of penetration. "Young Master Wen, how is it?" And Sheng hurriedly asked. "He could be saved." Zhou nodded, and Sheng was immediately overjoyed. He hurriedly turned to the other side of the glass and said to Tianzua, "Overseer, young Master Wen said he can save him. Governor Qin, please let young Master Wen save him immediately." At that moment, the elder said, "Overseer, you have to think carefully. That dimensional creature has already grown together with Governor Qin's brain. To remove it is an extremely meticulous job. It also requires the cooperation of a special miniature companion beast. Are you sure you want such a young man to do it?" Ignoring the fact that he can't remove it. Even if he can, Governor Qin will become a cripple if his brain is injured. And Tianzua didn't say a word after hearing the elder's words. He walked to the glass window and stared at Zhou. "Zhou, can you ensure that Governor Qin recovers? I can only guarantee that I can remove the dimensional creature without harming Deputy Governor Qin's brain." "I can't guarantee anything else," Zhou answered. "Young man, don't be too blindly confident. Do you know what that dimensional creature is called? What kind of abilities does it have?" The elder said with a smile. "I don't know, nor do I need to know. I just need to know that I can remove it," Zhou said. "Overseer, listen to that. What are you saying? Do you really want to use such a person?" The elder laughed. However, the elder's smile soon froze on his face. And Tianzua directly said to Zhou, "Immediately treat Deputy Governor Qin." "Overseer, isn't this decision of yours a little too rash? Or do you think that Deputy Governor Qin's life is more important than 10 tons of refined essence gold? Wouldn't that disappoint your subordinates?" The old man said with a smile. His words were obviously meant to provoke the other officers. He wanted to use the emotions of the officers to exert pressure on Tianzua. These 10 tons of refined essence gold were also very important resources for the Dugu family. The elder wasn't afraid that Zhou would treat Qin Wufu because he didn't believe that Zhou had such an ability. He was afraid that if Zhou killed Qin Wufu, he wouldn't be able to obtain the batch of refined essence gold. And Tianzua didn't answer the elder. He looked at an officer beside him and asked, "If you were Governor Qin, who would you choose to treat you?" "Young Master One," the officer answered without hesitation. The elder's expression changed slightly. Things seemed to be different from what he had imagined. "What about you?" And Tianzua asked another officer. "Young Master One," the officer immediately answered. And Tianzua asked one by one, but all the officers chose Zhou without any hesitation. There was no exception. From their expressions, it was as though it was a matter of course. "Overseer, your methods of controlling your subordinates are truly brilliant." The elder suppressed the surprise in his heart. He imagined that Tianzua was extremely strict, making his subordinates willing to risk their lives without any complaints. Although he said that, he couldn't help but look at Zhou in the ward. He thought to himself, could it be that he really has that ability? However, when his gaze landed on Zhou, his pupils constricted. He saw a strange dimensional creature formed from red threads in Zhou's hand. It was the dimensional creature in Qin Wufu's mind. At some point in time, Zhou had already produced the dimensional creature. Furthermore, it was alive. Impossible. The elder wore a look of disbelief as he pressed his hands against the glass window. His eyes wished he could reach into Zhou's hand to see if the dimensional creature in Zhou's hand was fake. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.